Chapter 2006. Now, in the whole of Eulalia, it was really difficult to find a person who didn't know Noah. It could almost be described as impossible. After all, back then, the war game between Noah and Apollo's spawn had been broadcasted live in Eulalia. Everyone and the gods had seen with their own eyes how domineeringly Noah destroyed all of Apollo's spawn, including the city. In the end, he even defeated the leader of Apollo's spawn with his own hands. It was so clean and efficient that it was frightening. Coupled with the incident where Freya's courtship was rejected, Noah's name had spread throughout Eulalia, and it was really difficult to find someone who didn't know him. However, this Vulpera girl named Chun-Ji was one of them. The reason was that Chun-Ji was not allowed to move freely by Esta's spawn. Presumably, Chun-Ji didn't watch the war game between Noah and Apollo's spawn due to the issue of freedom. This wasn't modern society, where every house had a TV to watch the live broadcast. If one wanted to watch the war game between Noah and Apollo's spawn, they could only watch it in places like the guild headquarters, taverns, or the spawn's base camp. Only there would the gods use the only divine power that they were allowed to use to conduct a live broadcast, showing the entire process of the war game in front of everyone. Chun-Ji, who was not allowed to move freely, naturally couldn't go to those public places. Even if she knew about Noah's deeds, she wouldn't recognize his face. Understanding this, Noah didn't feel that it was a pity, nor did he find it strange. Noah had more or less guessed that this Vulpera girl's freedom was restricted. A guild member who had magic or skills that could greatly increase one's power and become the trump card of the entire spawn was too precious. No one would feel at ease letting her move freely and give others a chance to poach her away. Moreover, Noah could sense that this Vulpera girl wasn't very powerful. Leaving such a precious but weak fighting force to wander outside, who knew when it would encounter an accident and die? That would be too much of a pity. For that, it wasn't strange that the spawn restricted Chun-Ji's freedom. Noah was just curious. He was curious as to what Chun-Ji's method of increasing the strength of others was. With that thought in mind, Noah also glanced at Chun-Ji's back. Chun-Ji's ability value was there. If only he could take a look. Thinking of this, Noah hesitated for a moment. In the end, he still wanted to see for himself. There will be plenty of time to taste the delicacies and fine wine later. As if he was toying with the girl's delicate and cute face, Noah used his finger to stroke Chun-Ji's chin while speaking with the same frivolous attitude as before. But before that, how about you take off your clothes first? Take off my clothes? Chun-Ji's pretty face was stunned as she spoke with extreme uncertainty. Here. That's right, it's here. Noah smiled. What? Do you have a problem? No. Nothing. Chun-Ji lowered her head. The tail behind her back seemed to indicate the nervousness in her master's heart as it trembled slightly. Since Sir has instructed, then Chun-Ji. Chun-Ji can only obey. As she said that, Chun-Ji's cheeks were dyed pink. She moved her arms slightly, and a corner of the loose kimono slipped down, revealing her slender and smooth shoulders. Just like this, Chun-Ji's seductive movements could be called undressing, slowly taking off her clothes. The fair skin was imprinted in Noah's eyes, causing Noah to rub his nose and laugh bitterly in his heart. If it were someone else, Noah would definitely not be so straightforward and rude. However, since the target was a prostitute, there shouldn't be any problem with this level, right? Besides, Noah wasn't the kind of person who was anxious for sex, and he didn't have any evil thoughts in his heart. Moreover, it wasn't like he hadn't seen Alien's body before, so why would he feel guilty? With this thought in mind, coupled with the fact that Noah was pretending to be a prostitute, instead of probing, it was better to be more direct so as not to arouse suspicion. Of course, Noah felt that even so, he most likely wouldn't be able to do as he wished. Then, Chun-Ji's kimono slipped down from her delicate body, revealing most of her skin, including her plump upper body, in front of Noah's eyes. At this time, Chun-Ji's face was already extremely red. Looking at Chun-Ji like this, Noah felt a little strange. This girl called Chun-Ji is a little too shy, right? That's right. She was too shy. Undressing in front of others, as a woman, even if she was a prostitute, she would still be shy when she felt shy. Noah could understand this point. However, looking at Chun-Ji's flushed face, it was no longer just a case of shyness. Rather than being shy, it was more like being ashamed. A prostitute actually had such a strong sense of shame, as if it was her first time. It can't be, really her first time, right? In this way, Noah felt a little uneasy. If the other party was a very experienced prostitute, then it would be fine. However, if it was really her first time, then it would be a big problem. Looking at Chun-Ji's blushing face, but still holding back her shame and slowly taking off her clothes, Noah couldn't help it. Of course, it wasn't that he couldn't help but pounce on her, but that he couldn't help but shout for her to stop. "All right, it's fine here. It's fine here." Chun-Ji couldn't help but be stunned. At this time, although Chun-Ji's entire upper body was exposed, her kimono had just slid down to her waist. That was fine. He could do it like this? Chun-Ji was confused. While Chun-Ji was confused, Noah glanced at her back at lightning speed. Chun-Ji's back was smooth and white, with distinct lines that could clearly make people see a different kind of charm. However, being smooth and white also meant that there was nothing on it, including the ability value that Noah wanted to see. Seeing this scene, Noah thought to himself, as expected. Among the adventurers, there were actually quite a few people who wore clothes that exposed their entire back. For example, the more open Amazon girls like Tiona and Tiona, their entire back could almost be said to be visible at a glance. In this way, could it be that Tiona and Tiona's ability value could be seen by anyone? Of course not. In fact, at the same time that the ability value was engraved, the gods would also use the divine blood as a guide to add a lock for the person who received the favor. The so-called lock was to hide the ability value, and it couldn't be seen at all. In order to not expose the most important ability value information, the gods developed this method to add a lock to the ability value of the children within the clan. Hasti didn't help Noah to lock his ability value at the beginning because she didn't know about this. Noah was Hastia's first clan member. And Hasti had just ascended to the lower realm not long ago, so it could be said that she was a newcomer. Gods who had just ascended to the lower realm often didn't know about this kind of locking method. Therefore, Hasti didn't help Noah to lock his ability value. When Noah was camping with the girls of Loki's clan on the 18th floor of the underground city, he inadvertently saw that Tiona and Tiona all had their backs exposed, but there was no ability value on them. Out of curiosity, he asked, and as a result, he learned about this matter. And of course, Ista's clan, which belonged to the top clan in Eulalia, naturally knew about the lock. Chun-Ji's ability value was also locked. Fortunately, in this regard, Noah also prepared a corresponding method. The next step was to use that method. Just as Noah was immersed in such thoughts, a pair of slender jade hands suddenly wrapped around his neck and pulled him to the ground. However, Noah didn't hit the hard ground, but fell into a soft place. Chun-Ji wrapped her arms around Noah's neck, pulled Noah onto her body, and then she fell down. She blushed, closed her eyes, and said timidly, "Please. Please take pity on me." Noah was stunned. After a while, Noah finally reacted. He looked at Chun-Ji, whose face was flushed red and her breathing quickened. She looked like she was at his mercy, and her clothes were half undone. He immediately laughed dryly. "I suddenly want to enjoy good wine and delicacies first." Hearing this, Chun-Ji opened her eyes. She looked at Noah with tears in her eyes as she spoke. "Are you dissatisfied with Chun-Ji, my lord?" "No, no," Noah hurriedly said. "There's absolutely no such thing." "Then you're not used to taking the initiative?" Chun-Ji showed a determined expression. "In that case, let Chun-Ji dress you up." With that, Chun-Ji suddenly turned over and sat on Noah. "Huh?" Noah made a sound that sounded like he had lost his mind. At this time, Chun-Ji was already reaching out to Noah's clothes with trembling hands and unbuttoning Noah's clothes. Wait. Wait a minute. Noah almost subconsciously tried to stop him. However, at this time, Chun-ji had already unbuttoned Noah's clothes, exposing his upper body. Looking at Noah's broad chest, Chun-ji's eyes suddenly widened, and her beautiful face sunk into an unprecedented red. Then, something that even Noah didn't expect happened. Ugh, Chun-ji's eyes suddenly rolled, and her head drooped. Without any warning, she fainted and fell onto Noah's body. Hugging the girl's soft body and looking at the girl who suddenly fainted, Noah's mouth twitched, and he was speechless. What's the situation now? Chapter 2007. In the room filled with a strange fragrance, Noah carried the fox girl, who was only covered by a red kimono, to the bed and laid her down. Only then did he have time to think about the current situation. Looking at the unconscious fox girl, Noah sighed and muttered to himself. Could it be that she fainted because she was too shy? If that was the case, then Noah really wanted to scream. What kind of prostitute is this? Noah was speechless and helplessly muttered. But, this is a good opportunity. Muttering like that, Noah turned his gaze to Chun-ji's back. As the saying goes, mice have their own ways, and snakes have their own paths. While the gods developed a method to lock ability values, some busybodies also developed a method to unlock ability values to reveal the hidden ability values. It was a tool called the unlocking medicine. As long as one dripped it on the back of the person who received the favor and followed the correct steps, then the lock of grace set by the gods could be unlocked. To create this tool, two conditions must be met. 1. The creator must learn the mystery development ability. Without the ability to create miracles, even the most brilliant person would not be able to unlock the lock of grace set by the gods, let alone create the relevant tools. 2. The creator must use the god's blood as the material to create the unlocking medicine. The god's blood was the necessary medium to carve and alter the grace. At the same time, the medium to lock ability values was also the god's blood. In other words, the god's blood was the key needed to carve and alter ability values. Without this key, even if the mystery was trained to the highest level, it would still be impossible to create the unlocking medicine. Of course, because the material was the god's blood, this tool could only be found by chance. Without the god's permission, forcefully unlocking the lock of grace set by the gods was naturally not allowed, and at the same time, it was also an immoral thing to do. After all, it could be said to be an illegal tool used to peek at other people's ability values. Because of this, the unlocking medicine could only be bought in the black market. As for the price, it was even more expensive than the panacea that could instantly heal any injury. Naturally, Noah did not have the time to go to the black market to prepare such an item. Besides, Noah didn't have enough money to buy this kind of item at the moment, so of course, he didn't have the antidote on him. However, Noah did not need the antidote. This was because Noah had already obtained the method to unlock it. When Noah returned to his tribe, he told Hestia about the lock. Hestia then asked her close friend Hephaestus about it. Noah then learned how to lock and unlock the lock from Hestia. Now that he knew how to unlock it, all that was left was to use the god's blood as a medium. Noah didn't have that either. However, Noah had divine power. In the past, Hestia had dripped a drop of God's blood into Noah's body. As a result, the energy contained within was absorbed by Noah. In other words, as long as Noah used his divine power, the effect would be no different from divine blood. The evidence was that Noah had relied on his own ability to help himself update his ability value many times. So, logically speaking, should also be able to rely on divine power to unlock it. With that, Noah sat on the edge of the bed and helped Chun-ji up, so that the Vulpera girl's back faced him. At the same time, the boundless energy in Noah's body also rotated and turned into a torrent of divine power. Noah mobilized the divine power in his body and gathered it on his fingertip. On Noah's fingertip, a faint halo began to flicker. Just like that, Noah gathered his divine power on his fingertip and pointed it on Chun-ji's white and smooth back. Suddenly, with Noah's fingertip as the center, a circle of ripples began to reverberate. As if trying to unlock an invisible shackle, Noah's fingertip that gathered divine power drew a line on the ripples. In the next second, the ripples reverberating on Chun-Ji's back suddenly faded. Immediately, a sacred and mysterious pattern tattoo began to emerge on Chun-Ji's back. It's done. Noah's eyes lit up as he stared at the ability value that gradually emerged on Chun-Ji's back and read the sacred text on it. Naharo Sanjo LV. 1 Strength, I, 8, Endurance, I, 32, Dexterity, I, 15, Agility, I, 23, Magic Power, E, 403, Magic, Million Treasure Hammer, Level Up. Limited to 1 target. A certain interval of time is required between 2 activations. Cannot be used on the caster himself. Level Up Magic? Looking at the information displayed by Chun-Ji's ability value, although Noah had already mentally prepared himself, he still couldn't help but be surprised. So it's not an increase in ability value, but a direct increase in level? No wonder Franny's increase was not much or little, it was just 1 level. It turned out that leveling up was the true form of Ista's family's secret method. This magic, in this world, is basically against the natural order. A magic that could increase one's level. Noah didn't know if this kind of magic had appeared in this world before, and whether it would appear in the future, Noah didn't know either. Noah only knew that the only person who had this kind of magic in this world was the fox girl named Nahara Sanjo. At the very least, Noah had never heard of anyone who possessed a spell that could increase one's level. It was also because of this that Ista regarded it as a treasure and planned to use it to deal with Freya's family. Its effect could be said to be powerful. If an adventurer of LV6 obtains this magic, then he can directly challenge Eulalie's ultimate weapon. Noah looked at the unconscious Chun-Ji with eyes full of emotion. This girl, once this magic is exposed, I'm afraid she will be crazily fought over by all forces. Even Ista's family may not be able to protect her. After all, it was a magic that could increase one's level. Even if it was only limited to 1 person and there was a time limit, the importance of this magic was not only that it could be used to increase one's strength, but also that it could allow the target to challenge opponents who were higher than their actual level, obtain better EXP, and even achieve great achievements and then level up. With this magic, it was only a matter of time before a large number of experts could be created, unless the potential of the target had been completely explored, and no matter how much EXP they accumulated, they would not be able to level up again. The owner of such a magic was regarded as a treasure by Ista's family, who could be regarded as the top of Eulalie's family. The girls of Loki's family were also amazed by this mysterious method. Who wouldn't want to obtain it? Even Noah was starting to have some ideas. If we poached this girl into our family, then, even if there was no Noah, it was only a matter of time before Hestia's family became the top family in Eulalie's family. When he thought that he couldn't stay in this world forever, Hestia's family needed a real trump card that they could rely on. Noah suddenly had a plan in his heart. Just when Noah was thinking about his plan, an extremely abrupt aura appeared in his sensing range. Noah's heart moved. He shrugged his shoulders and calmly added the lock on Chun-Ji's back to hide the ability value. Then, Noah simply didn't do anything. He just kept his disheveled appearance and helped Chun-Ji, who was half undressed, to lie down. As if he was waiting for something, he played with his fingers in boredom. Time passed by like this. Feeling that the aura had come to the surroundings, Noah smiled slightly and said very abruptly, "Don't you want to come out? I won't welcome you." As soon as the voice fell, the whole room fell into silence again. Noah wasn't in a hurry. He just sat there, as if he just remembered now, and leisurely tidied up his clothes. Until a certain moment, outside the window, a tall figure suddenly rushed in and landed in the center of the room. The newcomer turned her eyes to Noah, looked at Noah who was tidying up his clothes, then looked at the half-undressed, unconscious Chun-Ji lying on the bed, and frowned tightly. If it was someone who didn't know, they would definitely be confused by the scene in front of them. They would think that Noah intoxicated the girl, took advantage of her, and finally succeeded. Now it was over, right? Unfortunately, others didn't know the inside story, but how could Aisha not know? The newcomer was Aisha. Chapter 2008. The fragrance that permeated the room seemed to have suddenly become heavy, and it became somewhat uncomfortable. It was because it was affected by the atmosphere. Aisha looked at Chun-ji. After confirming that nothing happened to her, she secretly let out a sigh of relief. She turned her head and cast her gaze on Noah. She suddenly smiled. "You really came for Chun-ji. Why do you say that?" Noah said innocently. "I just came here to have fun. Why would I come here specifically for anyone?" "Okay, you can lie to that self-righteous beauty, but you can't lie to me," Aisha said with certainty. "Because, I don't believe that a man who can even reject a beauty would be immersed in a woman from the lower realm. You don't have any evil thoughts when you look at the opposite sex, so your goal is Chun-ji." No wonder she was known as the battle whore. This woman's strength may not be very high, and she was almost like an ant in Noah's eyes, but in terms of observation and thinking, Aisha was much better than Ista, who had obvious weaknesses. Therefore, Noah knew that it was useless to hide it. However, Noah didn't show the slightest trace of panic and smiled. "Since you've already seen through my intentions and have come here alone to see me, you shouldn't be trying to expose me, right?" "Of course," Aisha said without hesitation. "I just came to see how you will treat Chun-ji." Without a doubt, Noah already knew that Chun-ji was the biggest reliance of Ista's clan tribe. Facing this Vulpera who possessed super-powerful magic, what would Noah do? Based on this, Aisha would also treat him differently. "I just wanted to quietly observe from the side, but I didn't expect to be discovered by you," Aisha stared at Noah and said. "However, I believe in you. You will definitely treat Chun-ji well." "Me? Treat Chun-ji well?" Noah raised an eyebrow. "What does that mean?" Aisha did not answer Noah's question. Instead, she looked at the unconscious Chun-ji with pity and sympathy in her eyes. "This child is actually an unfortunate person." "Unfortunate people?" Noah looked at Aisha. "From what you're saying, there seems to be a reason why Chun-ji would appear here and become a prostitute. If that wasn't the case, do you think a girl who fainted from shyness when she saw a man's body would sell herself here?" Aisha laughed at herself. "Chun-ji is different from us. We are following our own desires and are willing to be prostitutes here. However, Chun-ji is not of her own free will." Noah had already expected this. Not because of anything else, but because Chun-ji's performance was too unlike a prostitute who sold her body. Her innocent appearance could be explained away as a deliberate act. After all, some men liked this kind of thing. Many prostitutes would pretend to be very pure in order to arouse men's desire to conquer. However, that fainting from excessive shame was not something that could be faked. Therefore, it had to be said that Chun-ji was an unqualified prostitute. And all of this proved that there was definitely a reason why Chun-ji would become a prostitute here. This child was born in the Far East. She was originally a descendant of a noble. When she was young, she ate the offerings used to worship the gods. As a result, she was kicked out by her father, who was an official and responsible for serving the gods. Aisha came to Chun-ji's side and gently stroked her face. In fact, it was just the result of a person who happened to be a guest in Chun-ji's house. After seeing Chun-ji, he had malicious intentions and planned to take Chun-ji for himself. Chun-ji was innocent from the beginning to the end. Hearing Aisha's words, Noah couldn't help but turn his eyes to Chun-ji. Although she still looked half-naked, Chun-ji's appearance was very beautiful and pure. She didn't look like a prostitute at all. Moreover, Chun-ji's sleeping posture was also very innocent. Rather than a prostitute, it was better to say that she was a little princess who didn't know anything about the world. After Chun-ji was kicked out of the house, that bastard took Chun-ji as a prisoner, but he was attacked by a monster on the way home with Chun-ji. He left Chun-ji and escaped by himself, Aisha said with contempt. That kind of man, even if he was given to me for free, I wouldn't accompany him. Fortunately, Chun-ji didn't encounter his evil hands. Then what happened? Noah asked. How did Chun-ji survive in front of the monster? A passing thief saved Chun-ji. Aisha sighed. That guy wasn't a good person. He saved Chun-Ji just because it was convenient. He sold Chun-Ji to Eulalie. As a result, after several twists and turns, Chun-Ji was bought by Lady Eulalie and became a member of Eulalie's family. However, that was just the continuation of Chun-Ji's misfortune. After joining Eulalie's family, Chun-Ji received the grace of the Lord God Eulalie. Her talents were discovered and she obtained the magic named Hammer of Thousand Treasures. Eulalie, who personally discovered this magic that could increase the level of the target, was almost ecstatic. From then on, she watched Chun-Ji closely and regarded her as the biggest trump card of her family. After Chun-Ji received the grace, it has been a while, but her ability value didn't increase much. Only the proficiency of the basic ability, magic power, increased. She is regarded as a magic tool, Aisha said emotionlessly. Every time the family prepares for a big operation, Chun-Ji will be put into an iron box. On the one hand, it is for protection, and on the other hand, it is also for imprisonment. Even when entering the underground city, it is no exception because only in this way can Chun-Ji not escape and ensure that Chun-Ji won't be killed by monsters. Aisha's words reminded Noah of what happened last time on the 18th floor of the underground city. At that time, Chun-Ji was put in an iron box and was carried around like a prop. This child's life is almost full of all kinds of misfortunes. Staying in this family, Chun-Ji will never have a future, Aisha said solemnly to Noah. So, I hope you can take Chun-Ji and let her leave here. You want me to take Chun-Ji away? Noah was really surprised. For Chun-Ji, Noah did have some ideas and planned to poach her into his family. However, Noah didn't expect Aisha to ask Noah to take Chun-Ji away. Isn't Chun-Ji the trump card of your family? Noah frowned deeply. You're willing to let Chun-Ji leave? Is it important whether I'm willing or not? Aisha laughed bitterly. The important thing is whether Master Eulalie is willing or not. Then, do you think Eulalie will let Chun-Ji go? Noah curled his lips. To be honest, I don't think the goddess, who is filled with boredom and jealousy all day long, will be willing to let go of a trump card that could defeat Freya's family. Then it's the problem you need to solve. Aisha looked at Noah meaningfully and said. The tyrant who once defeated the entire Apollo family by himself. This time, with Eulalie's family as the opponent, I'll wait and see if you can still show that invincible power. Hearing this, Noah was silent. Aisha also became silent, and the atmosphere in the room became heavy. After a while, Noah spoke. I have 3 questions, Noah said indifferently. The first question, how do you know I will help you? If you know the true form of Chun-Ji's magic, you will definitely be tempted, Aisha answered directly. As it turns out, I'm not wrong, right? The second question. Noah continued as if he didn't hear anything. Why do you want to send Chun-Ji away even if you have to betray your own family? There's no special reason. Aisha was silent for a while, then answered with some disappointment. I just think that Chun-Ji should live in a different world from us. She shouldn't stay here. The third question. Noah raised his eyes and stared at Aisha. Why me? Aren't you afraid that Chun-Ji will be treated even more miserably in my place than here? If I say I believe you, you probably won't believe me, right? Aisha met Noah's gaze and said this directly. But I still want to say that I will believe you. I believe that a man who is not swayed by the charm of a goddess will never do something that disappoints her. Noah closed his eyes. Chapter 2009. With a soft groan, Chun-Ji gradually regained her consciousness and slowly opened her eyes. Perhaps because she had just woken up, her mind was not particularly clear. Chun-Ji stared blankly at the ceiling and murmured in a low voice. What happened to me? Her voice was very low and could almost be described as a mosquito. However, in this silent room, no matter how soft the sound was, it would still be very clear. Thus, the second person on the scene clearly heard this sentence and responded. You were unconscious for about half an hour, right? When this sentence entered Chun-Ji's ears, Chun-Ji almost reflexively turned her head and looked at the source of the voice. She saw that in an Eastern-style room, in front of a small table, Noah was sitting on a cushion that looked very comfortable, drinking one cup after another. On the small wooden table in front of Noah, plates of food were neatly arranged, and there was also a pot of wine that was almost half empty. It was obvious that Noah had been sitting there drinking and eating for quite some time. Understanding this, combined with what Noah just said, Chun-Ji finally remembered what happened before she lost consciousness. Immediately, Chun-Ji's eyes widened and she quickly got up from the bed. With an expression that looked like she was about to cry, she repeatedly apologized to Noah. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. It's all my fault." Seeing Chun-Ji's fearful expression, Noah couldn't help but recall what Aisha said before she left. Chun-Ji fainted almost every time she saw a man's body. She couldn't serve a man at all. Over the years, when Chun-Ji fainted, I replaced her position, Aisha said. This girl didn't know about this at all. She always thought she was being enjoyed by a guest while she was unconscious. In fact, she was still perfectly fine. In other words, Chun-Ji had always maintained her purity, but she thought she had lost her virginity. Other people lost their bodies and kept their hearts, but Chun-Ji kept her body and lost her heart. In fact, this Volpara girl was still pure both physically and mentally. However, this girl didn't know about this at all. Thinking of this, Noah couldn't help but laugh in his heart, but his mouth said so. "All right, you don't have to blame yourself. I've already enjoyed myself to the fullest. There's no need to apologize." As he said that, Noah looked at Chun-Ji with a ridiculing gaze. Under Chun-Ji's gaze, he said those words that made her feel incomparably shocked. "Or rather, I'm actually quite satisfied with you, so I want to redeem your freedom." Redeem myself? Chun-Ji was stunned on the spot. As a prostitute, Chun-Ji naturally knew what redeeming her body was. That was a rule unique to Happy Street. In Happy Street, generally speaking, there were two kinds of people who chose to become prostitutes. One was like Aisha, a woman who followed her own desires, voluntarily immersed herself in pleasure, and embarked on the path of prostitution. One was like Chun-Ji, a woman who owed a debt or had signed a contract to sell herself to the owner of a brothel. She was a woman who had no choice but to do what she wanted. As for the so-called redemption, it was a rule of paying the person's debt or the person's own ransom to buy the prostitute they liked. In other words, it was to take the public prostitute for private use. This kind of thing was not uncommon in Eulalie. Adventurers enjoyed themselves to their heart's content in the Happy Street and spent a lot of money to buy the prostitutes they liked, letting them accompany them and serve them. There were even cases of them becoming lifelong companions and spending the rest of their lives with them. Even among Ista's family, similar things had happened before. Although Ista was extremely narrow-minded and couldn't tolerate even half a grain of sand in her eyes and saw Freya as her mortal enemy, she was still the goddess of love and beauty. Therefore, in the past, there were also cases of high-level adventurers redeeming the basic members of her family and obtaining Ista's approval to let them go. Therefore, for many prostitutes, redeeming themselves was equivalent to a princess meeting her prince. Almost every prostitute had done it before. One day, a powerful adventurer suddenly took a fancy to her, redeemed her, and spent the rest of her life with her, and dreamed of getting married and having children. Chun-Ji did the same. As an unfortunate girl, Chun-Ji wanted to escape from the cage of Happy Street more than anyone else, get rid of the control of Ista's family, and live a happy life. However, that was unrealistic. Thinking of this, the panic and apology on Chun-Ji's face began to disappear and was replaced by a gentle smile. "Thank you for your appreciation, sir. It is Chun-Ji's honor to be chosen by you. However, I'm afraid you will be disappointed. Chun-Ji is not only an ordinary prostitute, but also a member of Ista's family. Without the approval of Ista, the main god, I can't be redeemed." "Then can't you just get Ista's approval?" Noah, as if he didn't notice anything, held a glass of wine, drank, and replied. "I can see that you don't have much fighting ability. I guess you're just a low-level member in Ista's clan. Even if you're redeemed, it won't affect the clan at all. As long as I'm willing to pay, the master god Ista won't disagree, right? That was indeed the truth. If it was just an insignificant basic member, then the main god naturally wouldn't keep a close eye on them. For a family like Ista's family, which belonged to the top in Eulalie, presumably, a large sum of money would be more attractive to them than a non-combatant. It was precisely because of this that in the past, Ista would simply agree to let high-level adventurers redeem the basic members of her family. Not only could she get a large sum of ransom, but she could also befriend high-level adventurers. No matter what, she wouldn't lose out. But was Chun-Ji just an insignificant, basic staff member? The answer was naturally no. In Ista's family, Chun-Ji's status was indeed not high, even lower than the basic members. At least the basic members were still considered human, but Chun-Ji was just a tool that provided powerful magic. However, such a Chun-Ji was the trump card of Ista's family. With magic that could raise one's level, Ista had long regarded Chun-Ji as the biggest trump card against Freya's family. No matter how much money he had, it was impossible to redeem Chun-Ji. Chun-Ji, who was well aware of this, still had a smile on her pretty face, but it began to have a trace of sadness. Master's good intentions, Chun-Ji appreciates. Chun-Ji said sadly. But, Ista won't allow anyone to redeem Chun-Ji. My lord, you should give up. What's wrong? Noah asked with a straight face. You don't want to be redeemed? Or you don't want to? I naturally hope to be redeemed. Chun-Ji lowered her head and couldn't help but say. But Ista will never allow Chun-Ji to leave her family. There are no absolutes in this world. This sentence means that there is nothing in this world that can be described as absolute. Noah said lightly and stood up, coming in front of Chun-Ji. Just like when they first met, Noah stretched out his hand, lifted Chun-Ji's chin, and raised her pretty face to face him. Looking at her pair of pitiful eyes, Noah said, If I can redeem you, what do you plan to do? Looking at Noah's dark and deep eyes, Chun-Ji's heart couldn't help but ripple. If Milord is truly able to redeem my daughter's freedom. Chun-Ji bit her lips, and with a transparent smile that seemed hopeful yet did not carry any hope, she gave such an answer. At that time, no matter where my lord is, Chun-Ji will follow. Hearing this, Noah finally smiled. The reason why Noah stayed here was none other than Chun-Ji's words. As long as there was this sentence, it was enough. Very good. At that moment, Noah released Chun-Ji's chin with great satisfaction and turned around. Remember the promise you made today. After leaving such a sentence, Noah lifted his feet and slowly left the room filled with fragrance, disappearing from Chun-Ji's sight. Chun-Ji stared blankly at Noah's back until he disappeared from her sight. Only then did she lower her eyes. After an unknown amount of time, Chun-Ji's voice echoed. Can I really have a future? Chapter 2010. Bang! On the top floor of Ista's base camp, on the balcony, an extremely loud shattering sound suddenly rang out and reverberated in the surroundings. It was the sound of a glass full of drinks being smashed on the ground, shattering into pieces. The amber liquid spilled all over the floor, and the sweet aroma of wine filled the air. However, the initiator did not care at all. She gritted her teeth and was extremely angry. Tyrant! 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 Ista kept repeating this title, and the more she said it, the more hateful she felt. She still remembered that when she heard that Freya had tried to woo a man from the lower realm but was rejected, Ista felt really happy. As a beauty goddess who could even charm a Prince Charming, there was nothing more humiliating than being mercilessly rejected by a human from the lower realm. At least, that was what Ista thought. Therefore, the day she learned that Freya's wooing was rejected was definitely the happiest day Ista had ever had since she came to the lower realm. Didn't you all say that bitch is prettier than me? Look. She can't even handle a child from the lower realm? This sentence had almost become Ista's catchphrase ever since Freya's wooing was rejected. Once she met one or two acquaintances, Ista would definitely say this sentence and viciously belittle Freya. She even brought it up during the gods' assembly once every few months as a joke, hoping to greatly embarrass Freya this time. However, Freya herself did not care at all. Not only was she not ashamed of it, but she also looked very happy every time this matter was brought up. She kept repeating the same sentence over and over again. So, can you understand how outstanding that child is? That's why I'm intoxicated. In other words, not only did Freya not hate being ridiculed and belittled, but she was also proud of it. Every time it was mentioned, she was like a little girl who had completely fallen in love. Her beautiful face was as red as wine, as if she could see the man's face and was deeply infatuated with him. Ista, who did not have the same eyes as Freya, could not understand this kind of infatuation. Not only did she not care about it, but she also kept promoting Freya's jokes. To put it bluntly, the reason why Noah was so famous, in addition to the war game, was definitely not without Ista's help. However, Ista did not expect that the so-called karma would come so quickly. In just a few months, she had fallen into the same situation as Freya, humiliated by a man from the lower realm. Why? Why is our goddess's charm ineffective on that man? Ista thought hard. Could it be that the man has some ability or magic that can resist charm? But that was not right. Although the charm of a goddess was similar to the negative powers of poisoning, cursing, and petrification, there was a big difference in nature. Being intoxicated and obsessed with beautiful things was an instinct of the people from the lower realm. As the embodiment of beauty itself, the goddess of beauty could only stimulate this instinct without limit. It was not a negative power. Therefore, even if there was any ability or magic that could resist abnormal states, it was impossible to be immune to the charm of a goddess of beauty. So, how could that man be immune to the charm of a goddess of beauty? Could it be that the man really had a heart of stone, and would not have feelings for beautiful things? If he is really like that, then he can only be a vegetable. Ista bit her lips hatefully. That man doesn't look like a vegetable at all, does he? Ista did not know that the reason why Noah was immune to the charm of a goddess of beauty was because of his strong will. Noah would also be infatuated and obsessed with beautiful things, and would also like to have intimate contact with the opposite sex. Otherwise, he would not have married Mira and Lisanna, and also had a relationship with Luohao, and privately pledged to be with the Holy Sun for life. However, that did not mean that as long as one was beautiful, one could make Noah obsessed. When he was in the world of the Dark Bullet, Noah had already understood that things that were beautiful on the outside were not necessarily equally beautiful on the inside. In that world, people who were wearing human skin on the surface, but were simply synonymous with evil and the dark were almost everywhere. Coupled with his childhood experience and years of bitter training in the deep mountains and forests, it was not an exaggeration to say that Noah had seen through all the forms of life. It was simply a fool's dream to want to make Noah give his heart with just beauty. Moreover, although Noah was a human, his essence was the reincarnation of a world fragment that was bred by the world. A goddess of beauty could charm people and gods, but could she charm the world itself? What a load of nonsense. If that was the case, Ista was destined to be a tragedy. However, unlike Freya, Ista was not as flexible as Freya. This extremely narrow-minded goddess was only left with anger towards Noah for rejecting her and humiliating her. Don't think that I will let this go. I will definitely make you regret it. Ista took a deep breath and then coldly called out. Tammuz. Under Ista's call, the human youth who had previously threatened Hestia's family walked in. His attitude was still respectful as he bowed and waited for his overlord's orders. Then, Ista said. Go and find out when the rest of the members of Hestia's clan will be alone. Find a chance and tie them up for me. The human youth named Tammuz was stunned. After hesitating for a moment, he said so. But, Mistress Ista, Apollo's family used the same method before, and the result, don't compare Apollo with me. Ista looked at Tammuz coldly. I won't be like him. I don't want to be complacent and come to you without knowing the strength of the opponent. Although I don't want to admit it, the tyrant is too strong. Even Frayne, who had reached LV6, was defeated in one blow. Even if we use all our family members, we can't win against him. But, if we can't do it openly, I don't believe that we can't do it secretly. Ista sneered. I won't use the tyrant's companions as hostages. I'll use my charm to imprint my mark on his companions and make them my spies. They'll stay by the tyrant's side, and when the time comes, I'll let them rise up and push the tyrant into a dead end. I don't believe that a human from the lower realm doesn't have any flaws. Ista clenched her fists so hard that her fingers turned white. I also don't believe that my charm is ineffective on him and his companions. Hearing this, Tammuz breathed a sigh of relief and quickly complimented her. Mistress Ista, you're really not comparable to the existence of Apollo. Hearing this, Ista's face looked better. Unfortunately, Ista didn't know that she shouldn't have bothered the people around Noah. Because that was Noah's only weakness and Noah's biggest reverse scale. Just when Ista was admiring her idea and Tammuz was about to retreat to carry out the orders of the Lord God, a terrible sense of oppression suddenly fell from the sky and shrouded them. The smile on Ista's face froze. Tammuz's figure was frozen there. It was as if an invisible mountain had suddenly fallen into this space. The terrifying pressure fiercely suppressed Ista and Tammuz, causing them to widen their eyes at the same time. Their blood suddenly flowed faster. Their hearts suddenly beat faster. Their bodies couldn't stop trembling. Their teeth couldn't stop chattering. Ista's neck was stiff like a clockwork puppet. She turned her head little by little and looked at the corner of the open-air balcony. Over there, on the railings facing the happy street, a figure had appeared without anyone noticing. He stood facing the wind, his robes flapping loudly in the strong wind. Looking at Ista, who was staring at him with her eyes wide open, Noah's expression was as oppressive as an erupting volcano. His dark and deep eyes flashed with unprecedented coldness. Soon after, an indifferent voice that was as cold as ice resounded. You are looking for death. A murderous aura rushed toward her. Ista's pretty face suddenly turned pale. Chapter 2011. Whoosh. The wind in the middle of the night was like an invisible wave that swept through the entire palace of Ista's family, making the air a little cold. On the open-air balcony, Ista's coquettish lips were trembling, and she couldn't help but take a step back. Feeling the heavy pressure in the air and looking at the figure standing on the guardrail, Ista spoke in a hoarse voice. Why are you here? Hearing this, Noah just looked down at the trembling goddess who couldn't help but take a step back, and a feeling of anger surged in his heart. Noah knew that Ista was a very narrow-minded goddess, so narrow-minded that she couldn't tolerate even half a grain of sand. Because of her one-sided jealousy, this goddess treated Freya as her enemy. She kept excluding Freya and slandering her. She was almost unscrupulous, making people feel that this woman wasn't the goddess of love and beauty at all, but a vicious woman through and through. But even so, Noah didn't expect Ista to be so narrow-minded. Although he had disgraced the goddess, Ista's family didn't suffer any substantial losses at all. Moreover, previously, Ista had sent people to the base camp of Hestia's family to threaten and bribe Hestia. It was obvious that she was in the wrong first, so even if she was retaliated against, she had nothing to say. As a result, this goddess actually had malicious intentions towards Noah's companions in her family. The reason was that Noah had embarrassed her. The phrase, "a woman's heart is the most vicious," was best interpreted by Ista. Originally, Noah wanted to tell Ista that she had been framed by others. With the information as a reward, Noah planned to lay his cards on the table with Ista and redeem Chun-Ji. Although Chun-Ji's role couldn't be easily given up, the information Noah brought was exactly what Ista wanted the most. Presumably, it should be able to persuade her to give up Chun-Ji. But now, Noah didn't have that thought at all. You're courting death. You can't blame anyone else. Noah raised his feet and jumped down from the guardrail of the open balcony, landing in front of Ista. This action directly stimulated Ista. Men. Come. Ista screamed. Someone come quickly. Hearing Ista's shriek, a commotion suddenly broke out in the base camp of Ista's clan tribe. Bang! Not long after, the door of the open balcony was knocked open, causing a heavy sound. A group of combat prostitutes rushed in with weapons in their hands. They surrounded Ista. However, when the battle whores saw Noah in front of them, they were all stunned. Tyrant? Why is he here? Cut the crap! Ista screamed. Take him down. A group of combat prostitutes suddenly tightened their faces. They couldn't care less and all rushed to the direction of Noah. Unfortunately, before the group of combat prostitutes could touch Noah, a violent impact shook from Noah and exploded in all directions. Boom! Amidst the thunderous booms, the combat prostitutes were all struck by the formless energy. They were sent flying like kites with their strings cut. They either crashed into the walls or rolled on the ground. After twitching a few times, they were no longer able to move. Wails, as if they were late for a long time, sounded from the combat prostitutes who fell to the ground one by one. What? Ista took a deep breath. These combat prostitutes, as Ista's clan tribe, were all LV-3. Such a large number of LV-3 battle whores were all killed without even a single confrontation. They were all the elites of Ista's clan tribe. More than half of the strength of Ista's clan tribe was supported by these LV-3 combat prostitutes. Such a force was all killed at once? The existence of LV-6 was killed in one blow. A group of LV-3 existences were also defeated at once. When did such a terrifying human being appear in the mortal realm? Could it be that the existence comparable to LV-7 could be so strong? Strong enough to defeat the entire clan tribe that Ista was proud of alone? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Ista shouted as if she couldn't accept it. Tammuz. You go too. On the side, Tammuz, who had been quietly waiting, stepped on the ground without any hesitation. Like a bullet, he rushed toward Noah. Whoosh! The extremely fast speed made Tammuz's figure suddenly turned into a residual shadow, as if he flashed through the space. With a faint sound of breaking the air, he instantly rushed to the front of Noah. That speed had already exceeded the level of LV-3. This human youth was at LV for level 2 adventurer. In Ista's clan tribe, except for Franey, who was the leader, Tammuz was the strongest member of the entire clan tribe. Therefore, this human youth was allowed by Ista to be a follower and always be by her side. Without this level, Ista would never take him out to meet others. However, at best, he was only LV-4 level. Almost at the same time when Tammuz rushed to the front of Noah, a terrible impact exploded in front of Tammuz. Boom! A muffled sound resounded. Tammuz could not even clearly see when he was attacked. All he felt was an incomparably frightening energy viciously slamming into his body, causing him to groan. His entire body was sent flying backwards at a speed faster than when he had arrived. Ista only felt a gust of wind blowing past her ear. Tammuz flew past her at an amazing speed, heavily hitting the wall on the side of the door. He slid along the wall and fell to the ground. Ista was sluggish. In less than a minute, all the guards protecting the goddess were taken care of. Noah's eyes looking at Ista didn't weaken at all. His eyes were like a sharp sword, piercing Ista's body, making Ista's heart begin to tremble. Until then, Ista understood one thing. She had offended someone she shouldn't have offended. So, Ista finally began to feel afraid. Without thinking, Ista turned around and immediately wanted to escape. However, when Ista turned around, a figure suddenly flashed past her and appeared in front of her. Ah! Ista screamed in surprise. She retreated out of reflex. You! What do you want to do? Ista asked in a trembling voice. I'm warning you, this is Pleasure Street, the territory of Ista's family. If you do anything to me, you'll be making an enemy out of all of Ista's family. Ista's family will never let you go. Won't let me go? Noah sneered. You'd better worry about yourself first. Worry about myself? Ista almost didn't react. When she came back to her senses, her eyes widened in an instant. You still want to attack me? You're just courting death. Noah slowly stretched out his hand and pointed it at Ista. You can't blame others. The surging divine power surged from Noah's body and gradually turned into a spear of light, which was tightly held in Noah's hand. Stop. Stop. Ista's heart was trembling. She tried to act tough, but she was actually scared. Attacking a god is an absolute taboo. The guild will never let you go. Really? Noah suddenly smiled, but his eyes were extremely cold. Then, I'll also tell you that attacking the people around me is also an absolute taboo. I will never let you go. As soon as his voice fell. Whoosh! Accompanied by a sharp piercing sound, the dazzling light of the light spear burst out like a laser beam, flashing and disappearing in a flash, heading straight towards Ista. Poochie! The clear sound of flesh tearing echoed from Ista's body. Ista only felt a sharp pain in her chest, and her body was mercilessly pierced through by the sharp spear of light. Her whole body was carried by the spear of light, and she flew out of the open balcony and fell into the air. Clang! In the next second, an unprecedented brilliance bloomed from Ista's body, illuminating the entire night sky. Chapter 2012. Clang! A radiance comparable to the sun bloomed in the direction of Happy Street, illuminating the entire night sky and attracting the attention of all the residents of Eulalie. What? What's that? It's so dazzling, what's going on? All the residents of Eulalie raised their heads and looked in the direction of Happy Street. Their faces were full of astonishment, causing an unavoidable commotion on the streets. As for the other gods, they all felt an astonishing divine power from the dazzling light, and they all looked at each other in dismay. For the residents of the mortal world, this phenomenon was just that they didn't understand what was going on. However, for the gods, no one knew better than them what the scene in front of them meant. A god was sent back to the heavens? Yes. A god was sent back to the heavens. Because he used his divine power. When the gods descended to the mortal world, they had already set up rules to seal their omnipotent divine power, leaving only the bodies of ordinary people for entertainment in the mortal world. Once a god used his divine power, he would immediately be sent back to the heavens. The scene in front of them was the proof of which God used his divine power. In other words, this divine general would be sent back to the heavens without any suspense. Is that the direction of Happy Street? Is Ista the one who was sent back to the heavens? It can't be, right? The gods all fell into an uproar. At this moment, all the existences in Eulalie were watching the radiance that was as dazzling as the sun. It was destined to be a sleepless night. In front of the headquarters of Hestia's family, Hestia looked at the dazzling radiance and murmured with a grave expression. Happy Street. It's Happy Street. A strong sense of uneasiness began to rise in Hestia's heart. After all, Noah happened to be at Happy Street tonight. Of all the times, something happened tonight. Hestia had a bad premonition for a long time. In addition, Noah's purpose of going to Happy Street this time was to inquire about the secrets of Ista's family. How could Hestia not have a bad feeling when something happened at this time? Exalted. Exalted God? Baal was at a loss for words. What should we do now? That light appeared in Happy Street, right? Lily couldn't hide her uneasiness. Lord Noah just so happens to be at Happy Street. Did something happen? Hestia did not answer. Instead, her face was filled with uncertainty. After a while, Hestia took a deep breath and said, "Don't worry about it. No matter what, let's wait for Noah to return first. We can't act rashly." Got it. Baal and Lily nodded with difficulty. Hestia shifted her gaze back to the dazzling light in the sky above the Happy Street. Her voice faded away with the wind. Noah, you mustn't let anything happen to you. On the top floor of the Tower of Babel, Freya was also looking at the dazzling light. Her brows were tightly knitted together. Freya, who had been watching Noah's soul radiance, could clearly see that before the light appeared, and even after it appeared, Noah had been staying in that place all this while. In other words, no matter which god was sent back to heaven, Noah must have witnessed the whole process. No. Maybe, it was more than just witnessing. That child, did he attack Ista? Freya's frown deepened. That child, once again, did something I didn't expect at all. If it was really Noah who attacked Ista and caused her to be sent back to heaven, then it would be really troublesome. No matter how good Noah was, he was just a human. It was absolutely unforgivable for someone from the lower realm to attack a god. I'm afraid the guild has already started to act. Freya said helplessly. It seems that I misjudged that child's temper and went a little overboard. While Freya's face was filled with helplessness, the orc who was as strong as a tower in her room spoke in a deep voice. Lady Freya, what should we do next? Let's wait and see how the guild will treat that child. Freya pursed her lips, and a smile bloomed on her beautiful face like a flower. I hope the guild won't go too far. Otherwise, for that child, I might have to do something taboo and become the first god to attack the guild in 1,000 years. Attack the guild. What did that mean? It meant that Freya was going to challenge the manager of this city. That was no joke. Although the guild had not developed much power, it had always been the manager of Eulalie's existence. Challenging the guild was equivalent to challenging the police station in modern times. The end result was either imprisonment, a sentence, or banishment. At that time, even if Freya was known as one of Eulalie's strongest family members, she would only end up being wanted by the guild. As the manager of Eulalie, the guild only needed to issue a wanted notice, and those who wanted to replace Freya's family members, those who viewed Freya's family members as enemies, and those who wanted to obtain the guild's bounty would all be attacked, and Freya's family members would completely fall. Attacking the guild was such a serious matter. Moths to a flame, it referred to Freya's decision. However, as Eulalie's ultimate weapon, Otto did not hesitate to lower his head and respond. Follow the orders of our goddess. So what if they were moths to a flame? As long as it was Freya's decision, Otto would not hesitate at all. He believed that the rest of the family members must have thought the same. There was no exception. At the same time, on the open balcony of Ista's family base camp, Noah was also looking at the dazzling light. His whole body was bathed in the light, and his face was expressionless. Ista was done for. Although Noah did not completely kill her, she suffered a fatal injury. The gods' sealed divine power would automatically be released to repair their master's body and save their master's life. In the eyes of the gods, this meant that the game was over. No matter what the reason was, as long as one used divine power, they would be eliminated in the game known as the lower realm and be sent back to the heavens. Therefore, as Ista's divine power was released and began to repair her master's body, a dazzling light beam descended from the sky and enveloped the radiance. Buzz! An ear-piercing tremor resounded. Under Noah's gaze, the beautiful goddess named Ista gradually turned into a burst of light particles, drifting all the way to the sky along the dazzling light beam and disappearing into the horizon. Shortly after, the light beam dimmed bit by bit and gradually disappeared. Almost at the same time, the bodies of all the members of Ista's family changed. The grace from the goddess Ista disappeared into the lower realm along with the beautiful Ista and began to lose its effect bit by bit. How? How is this possible? The battle whores on the ground were all dumbfounded, unable to react. Tammuz, who sat paralyzed by the wall, was also in a daze and didn't react for a long time. At this moment, Ista's disappearance caused the ability points of those who received her grace to lose their effectiveness. Unless these people were to enter a new family and the ability points behind them were dripped with the divine blood of the overgod of the new family, the grace would be restored and their strength would be restored. In other words, Ista's family no longer existed. As soon as the overgod disappeared, these former members of Ista's family would all become the people of the family with no family and obtain freedom. Including Chun-Ji. Noah killed Ista cleanly and sent her back to the heavens. One of the reasons was that the goddess had touched his reverse scale. Another reason was that this was the only way to free Chun-ji. The choice of negotiating with Ista no longer existed when Ista beautifully stepped on the landmine in Noah's heart. This way, even if Ista returned to the lower realm, there would be no way for the original family members to return to her. Of course, Ista had to have the opportunity to return to the lower realm. After being sent back to the heavens, it would be impossible for her to return to the lower realm without hundreds or even thousands of years. Therefore, in this life, Noah should not have the opportunity to see Ista again. However, this matter didn't end like this. Noah turned around and looked at Tammuz, who fell by the wall and was dumbstruck. Noah narrowed his eyes slightly. Chapter 2013. When Noah's gaze landed on Tammuz's body suddenly trembled, and his face was filled with fear. It wasn't just Tammuz. Even the battle whores on the ground were looking at Noah with fear in their eyes. Their hearts were trembling. It could not be helped. Just now, in front of these people, Noah killed a god with his own hands, and sent this god back to the heavens, and it was almost impossible for him to return. For the people of the lower realm, killing a god was an extremely taboo. However, Noah did it without hesitation. Since that was the case, it was impossible for others not to be afraid. Just like how modern people would be afraid of murderers, Noah, who violated the taboo law, in the eyes of ordinary people naturally became the target of fear. In this regard, Noah did not have any thoughts. He just looked straight at Tammuz, and after a while, he lifted his feet and walked over. You. What are you trying to do? Tammuz was shocked. He wanted to move, but because of the previous injury, his body was in extreme pain, and he could not move at all. He could only scream in horror. Don't come over. Don't come over. An existence that could kill a god without batting an eye, killing a person was something that did not need to hesitate at all. Tammuz, who thought so, was already filled with fear. Seeing Noah getting closer and closer, he began to beg for mercy. Don't kill me, I'm innocent. I was just acting when I attacked you, just acting. Hearing this, Noah stopped in his tracks. Seeing this, Tammuz breathed a sigh of relief. However, Noah muttered. Acting, it was indeed acting, and you even put on a big show. The inexplicable words made Tammuz completely stunned. Put on a big show? What did this mean? Not to mention Tammuz, even the surrounding battle whores who had fallen to the ground could not react in time. There's something that I felt was very strange from the beginning. Noah suddenly said this without any warning. Not long ago, some members of Freya's family entered the underground city and encountered Ista's family on the 18th floor of the safe floor. Hearing Noah suddenly mention this matter, Tammuz's expression suddenly froze. As if he did not see Tammuz's expression, Noah continued to talk to himself. At that time, Freya's family only sent a few insignificant people, and the highest level in the team was only LV3. But your Ista's family even had a LV5 leader present, and even the hidden trump card that was brought into the underground city in an iron box. Isn't that a little strange? For Ista's family, Chun-ji was their trump card to defeat Freya's family. Normally, Ista wouldn't even give Chun-ji freedom, so Chun-ji almost became a lady of the boudoir who never went out of the house. However, at that time, not only did the strongest leader of Ista's family appear, but even Chun-ji was brought into the underground city. No matter how he thought about it, it was impossible to encounter Freya's family by chance, but a planned ambush of Freya's family. But in this way, another question also floated in Noah's mind. The opponent was just a group of adventurers who were at most LV3. Even if Ista's family wanted to ambush Freya's family, they wouldn't send a LV5 leader and the hidden trump card of her family just for a group of adventurers who were at most LV3, right? Noah said lightly. So, this matter, from the beginning, there were some strange things that made me have a lot of doubts. Intuition tells me that in addition to the hidden trump card of Ista's family, there is also a deeper inside story behind this matter. Noah glanced at Tammuz. I came to Happy Street with such doubts, intending to find out the truth. Thomas's expression began to change. Noah still acted as if he didn't see anything and continued to speak. After that, I reached an agreement with Aisha and agreed to let her take Chun-ji away. At the same time, I asked her about this matter and found out that the reason why Ista sent out such a lineup was because she received news that Freya's family was about to carry out a very important operation in the underground city. Therefore, Ista sent out elites to snipe them. At this point, Noah looked at Tammuz and said word by word. And that news was reported to Ista by you. Tammuz's heart skipped a beat. You. Tammuz couldn't help but say. What are you trying to say? I want to say that the source of your information is really unreliable. Noah curled his lips and smiled. Freya's family had a very important operation in the underground city, but they sent a group of adventurers who were at most LV-3 to carry it out. Who are you trying to fool? If that's the case, I have to think carefully. Is there a possibility that you are reporting false information? But Freya's family did indeed send people to the underground city? Noah looked at Tammuz with a faint smile. It's almost as if the informant had colluded with Freya's family to put on a good show in front of someone, so that this person and Freya's family would be involved in the whole script, while the informant would stay aside and watch the show. Tammuz's expression changed drastically. It seems that I guessed right. Noah's smile became a little indifferent. You have long been captured by Freya's charm and became her subordinate. It was Freya's order to report false information to Ista. It was also Freya's arrangement that Freya's family appeared in the 18th floor of the underground city. Freya wanted me to be the main character in the drama, and then let Ista's family become important supporting characters, while she leisurely sat on the sidelines and watched the show, playing a game where everyone and even the gods were dancing in her palm. Noah glanced at Tammuz. I'm right, aren't I? Tammuz's face turned deathly pale, without a single trace of blood. Obviously, Noah's guess was right on target. In other words, Ista had been led by the nose by Freya from the beginning to the end, and she was just a pastime. And Noah had become the target of the beauty's prank. I knew it, that love-struck fool would not stay obediently in the Tower of Babel. Noah suddenly smiled, staring at Tammuz, and said so. Since I've already taken care of one beauty, why don't I take care of another one? Tammuz suddenly felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave, and he began to lose his body temperature. Noah's smile and words, to Tammuz who had just witnessed the whole process of Noah killing a god, were simply the devil's sneer and whisper. Therefore, Tammuz had reason to believe. This person could definitely do such a thing. Mad. Mad. Tammuz's lips trembled. No. No. Tyrant. You are a real tyrant. An irrational tyrant, maybe? Noah pursed his lips and then bent down, stretched out his hand, and slid it across Tammuz's neck. Tell me, what should I do with you? Noah's finger merely slid across the front of Tammuz's neck, but it gave Tammuz the feeling that his throat had been cut by a blade, and he could die at any time. The shadow of death rose in Tammuz's heart. Noah was still there, telling his thoughts. Fortunately, I had a good time this time, and at least I got a good girl. With such a reward, my anger is almost gone. This time, I'll let that love-struck fool go. Noah said so, like a harmless little boy. However, you have to tell that fallen woman well. Tell her, don't do it again, or else prepare to go to heaven and have a chat with Ista. Yes, the topic should be, as a beauty who can make all the opposite sex fall head over heels for her, how does she feel when she dies in the hands of a human male from the lower realm? Noah looked at Tammuz, and his eyes flashed with bone-chilling emotions. Remember to help me pass on these words, okay? After leaving these words, Noah got up and slowly came to the guardrail of the open-air balcony under the horrified gaze of all the combat prostitutes who had fallen to the ground. With a leap, he disappeared into the night sky. Tammuz stared blankly at Noah's back disappearing in front of his eyes, as if his consciousness had been annihilated, and he didn't react for a long time. Below his crotch, a pair of pants had already become wet. Chapter 2014. The next day, when the sky began to brighten, a piece of news that shocked all of Eulalie and even the whole world spread. Have you heard? Ah, of course. Who in Eulalie doesn't know about this? Yes. I didn't expect that the tyrant dared to attack the main god of Ista's family and caused her to be sent back to heaven. I still can't believe it. Yes. A human being dared to attack a god. It's not a matter of disrespect, right? I really want to know if this news is true or not. It must be true. After all, those battle whores in Itha's clan who had regained their freedom saw with their own eyes that god Itha was killed by the tyrant. It said that the whole guild was shocked. They even held a meeting to ban Ista's family. Now, Ista's family is really in big trouble. Now that there is such a taboo existence among the children of Ista's family, I'm afraid that Ista and her family will be implicated. I'm afraid that Ista's family will be disbanded by the guild. Goddess Hestia might even be punished and sent back to the heavens. It's a pity that her family has been in the limelight recently. Similar conversations were taking place in every corner of Eulalie's office. At this time, the adventurers should be preparing to head to the dungeon to earn magic stones and kill monsters for a day of activities. However, today, because of this important news, the Tower of Babel was deserted. Only a few adventurers went to the underground city. Everyone was paying attention to this news. What would the guild do in the face of a taboo god slayer? This tyrant is too impulsive, isn't he? Although he's powerful, he can't be so reckless. Although those gods are very annoying and play us here and there every day, they are still gods. Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning by the heavens if you attack a god? No matter how hateful that god is, we can just tie him up and let our main god kill him. Only a god can kill a god. Yes. That's right. Gods could only be killed by gods. This was the philosophy of the people of the lower realm. To the people of the lower realm, gods were existences that should be worshipped. Due to the collective descent of the gods into the mortal world, the distance between the gods and humans was not as far apart as it was in ancient times. Some people even felt disdain for the gods. However, not many people had thought of attacking the gods. During a battle between clans and factions, people would at most capture the other side's over gods and never dare to harm them. Just like what was mentioned above, if one attacked a god, it wouldn't be strange to be struck by lightning. It was such a taboo thing. Moreover, no matter how outrageous a god was, he was still a god. In the eyes of the gods, it was one thing to be killed by a god of the same kind, but to be killed by a human from the lower realm was absolutely intolerable. If one didn't receive any punishment for killing a god, didn't that mean that others could easily kill a god? Of course, it was impossible. So, even if it was for their own sake, the gods would be serious this time and ask the guild to punish Noah, right? And as Noah's over god, Hestia would definitely be punished. If the child committed a crime, wouldn't the parents be at fault? Of course not. Others would definitely think that there was a problem with Hestia's teaching if she could even do such a taboo thing as killing a god. Therefore, this time, the disturbance caused by Noah was far greater than during the war game. It involved not only the clan but also the overgods. Because of this, not only did the higher-ups of the guild hold a meeting, but even the gods held a meeting of the gods. For the first time, they started a meeting with a very serious attitude. However, just as everyone was discussing how to punish Noah, another piece of news came out. Did goddess Hestia expel the tyrant from her clan? That's right. Hestia expelled Noah from her clan. This news quickly spread throughout Eulalia, and everyone knew about it. Everyone who knew about this news was stunned at first, but then they came to a realization. Committing such a taboo thing, it's reasonable to expel him from his clan. Otherwise, are you waiting for him to implicate the whole clan and even himself? Hestia has made a foolproof decision. Yeah. Expulsion from the clan. Among the various punishments, it could be said to be the most severe one. Because, being expelled from the clan meant that the overgod had given up on the favor given to the child. Those without a clan, no matter how glorious they were in the past, their ability points would be sealed, just like the people of Hestia's clan. Unless they joined a new clan and the new overgod activated their ability points with divine blood, they could only be reduced to a weak normal person. Which clan would be willing to let go of someone like the tyrant? But this time, they had to let him go, otherwise the whole clan would be affected. This is the price of being impulsive. Everyone felt that this matter was reasonable, including the higher-ups of the guild and the gods and Buddhas. If they did not take the opportunity to cut ties with Noah, then Hestia's clan would be punished as if they were covering up a criminal. Now, Noah was expelled from the clan. Not only did he receive the punishment he deserved, but Hestia's clan could also live in peace. Then, the guild and the gods and Buddhas dismissed the meeting and did not say anything about this matter. However, the people of Eulalia did not find it strange. After all, the person involved had been expelled from the clan and received the punishment he deserved. However, gradually, Noah's actions also made the people of Eulalia give him a title that was extremely taboo in this world: God Slayer. Just like Aes was known as the swordswoman and was also known as the warrior, Noah was known as the tyrant, and from today onwards, he also received the title of God Slayer. It was a pity that these people did not know. The culprit who expelled Noah from the clan, Hestia, was making a scene at this moment. I don't agree. I definitely don't agree. In the base camp of Hestia's clan, the petite young goddess was lying on the sofa, throwing a pillow in her hand and throwing a tantrum like a child. I don't want to expel Noah from the clan. I don't want to. Under Hestia's tantrum, Baal and Lily, who were about to go forward and persuade her, were hit by the pillows she threw around. They immediately covered their noses and squatted down with tears in their eyes. Hestia suddenly jumped up and pointed at the corner of the living room. It's all your fault. In the direction Hestia pointed at, Haruji, who was wearing a red kimono, was hiding there, trembling and lowering her head as if she was about to cry. It's all my fault. The delicate and cute Vulpera girl's tearful appearance would make anyone feel a little sorry for her. However, the furious Hestia didn't care at all. If knowing one's wrong can be regretted, then what's the use of gods? The enraged young goddess was like a ferocious beast, pouncing toward Haruji. However, halfway through, a hand reached out and knocked on Hestia's head. Bam! Wah! The knocking sound and the wailing sound sounded almost at the same time. Hestia covered her head and squatted down with tears in her eyes like Baal and Lily. Didn't I tell you? Noah sighed and took back his hand. Leaving the clan is just a cover. With my uniqueness, as long as I stay out of the limelight, I can return at any time. In that case, what's wrong with leaving? I don't care. I just don't want you to leave. Hestia bit her lips, and a trace of sadness appeared on her young face. You're my original family. I don't want you to leave my clan. Hearing this, Noah was silent. After a while, Noah sighed again and said, Don't worry. Actually, for me, the clan isn't the problem at all because I'm not destined to stay in this world forever. What? Hestia froze. Hey, Hestia. Noah smiled and said. Tell me a little about me. Chapter 2015. Under the gaze of Belle and Lily, Noah held the hand of the stunned Hestia and walked into the room. He closed the door so that Belle and Lily couldn't hear the conversation inside. Belle and Lily were very curious about what Noah was going to say to Hestia, but they knew it must be something very important from Noah's expression. Therefore, Belle and Lily could only look at the door in front of them and didn't respond for a long time. The whole living room returned to silence. It wasn't until a while later that Belle murmured in disbelief. Leader, are you really going to withdraw from the clan tribe? This is something that can't be helped. Lily was very open-minded, but her expression was still a little heavy. Only in this way can this storm pass peacefully. Whether it was Belle or Lily, in fact, they were very clear. Noah made such a decision because he didn't want to implicate the clan tribe. The evidence was that in the face of the so-called punishment of the guild and the blame of the gods, Noah had always been indifferent. He only made arrangements for the clan tribe. Noah was right. He was special. It wasn't that Noah thought so. All of Eulalie knew that Noah was special. Because, even without relying on the grace of the gods, Noah was also very powerful. This matter was no longer a secret among the gods. Because of this, Noah was special. If it was another person who did something like killing a god, the main god would immediately withdraw the grace given to him and beat him back to his original state. Without power, facing the entire adventure of Eulalie, this person could only obediently be captured and let the guild and the gods deal with him. But Noah was different. Even without the grace of a god, Noah still possessed formidable strength. Once he took revenge, which god with their divine power sealed would have the strength to fight back? Since Noah had committed the taboo of killing a god, then, what did it matter if he killed a few more gods? In other words, the gods were all afraid of Noah. They were afraid that if they forced Noah into a corner, they would provoke Noah's revenge. At that time, with Noah's strength, all of Eulalie would really be thrown into chaos, ushering in the true twilight of the gods. The gods were not willing to see such a thing happen. This was because these deities still hoped to stay in the mortal world. The guilds weren't willing to see such a thing happen. This was because if the gods in Eulalie were to suffer a huge blow, causing most of the adventurers to lose their favor, then the guild would definitely suffer a huge loss. After all, the guild had relied on monopolizing the magic stones produced in the dungeon and selling magic stone products to the rest of the world to become rich and powerful. If there were not a large number of adventurers exploring the dungeon and bringing back large amounts of magic stones, the guild would suffer heavy losses. For this reason, the guilds and the gods were definitely not willing to force Noah to his death. If they were forced into a corner and Noah really went berserk, it wouldn't be good for anyone. It was precisely because of this that the guilds and the gods had to hold a meeting to discuss this matter. In fact, the guilds and the gods were not willing to offend Noah too much. Unfortunately, the taboo that Noah had committed could not be ignored. Noah had to be punished. Moreover, it had to be a punishment that could make other adventurers feel afraid. If Noah killed a god and was not punished, then all of Eulalie would definitely be in chaos. For example, if Noah was not punished, then such a conversation might occur. There's no punishment for killing a god? Then what's there to be afraid of? Since there's no punishment for killing a god, then we don't have to be respectful to those gods in the future. Yes. If I'm forced into a corner, then I'll kill a god too. Anyway, I won't be punished. Even if the above conversation did not appear in real life, it would become everyone's thoughts. Just like the existence of laws was necessary, only by telling everyone what the consequences of breaking these laws would be, then the crime could be effectively suppressed. Therefore, Noah had to be punished. In this way, the gods' safety could be guaranteed. Once someone set a precedent and was not punished, then the gods would no longer be safe in this world. In this way, on the one hand, they needed to give Noah enough punishment, and on the other hand, they needed to be careful not to push Noah too far. The guilds and the gods would definitely be worried. If this situation continued, the guilds and the gods who were at their wits' end would definitely find trouble with Hestia, or even the entire family of Hestia. It was precisely because Noah saw through all the developments that he ignored Hestia's opposition and let Belle and Lily spread the news that he was expelled from Hestia's family. For adventurers, being expelled from the family of Hestia was already a very heavy punishment. After all, not everyone could be like Noah, who could still be strong after losing his ability points. Therefore, this punishment was enough to deter others. With the example of being expelled from the family of Hestia for killing a god, adventurers who did not want to become ordinary people without the strength to truss up a chicken would certainly not commit the same big taboo. The guilds and the gods also had an explanation to the people. Therefore, after learning that Noah was expelled from the family of Hestia's family, the meeting between the guilds and the gods was dissolved. Since Noah had taken care of the matter first, only a fool would find trouble with Noah at this time. As for Noah, he could return to Hestia's family after the news died down and nothing would happen. This was what the so-called hiding from the limelight meant. In other words, Lord Noah actually doesn't care about the guild's punishment at all. It's only because he needs to consider us that he has no choice but to temporarily withdraw from the family of Hestia. Lily said in a deep voice. Lily, Lord Bell, and Lady Hestia have all dragged Lord Noah down. Lily's words made Bell lower his head with a look of regret. Of course, to be honest, the reason why it became like this is because Lord Noah killed a god without any scruples. We are all implicated. Lily quickly changed her tone. So, whether it's Lord Noah or us, we're all in this together, ha 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 ha. Lily's laughter sounded extremely empty, making the atmosphere a little uncomfortable. Realizing this, Lily lowered her head. Sorry, Lily isn't very good at comforting people. It's okay. Bell hurriedly shook his head. It's me who shouldn't feel indignant about being here. Seeing Bell and Lily apologizing to each other, Chun-Ji, who was huddled in the corner of the living room, also spoke weakly. No, it's not your fault. It's my daughter's fault. It's all because of my daughter that Lord committed the taboo of killing a god. As she said this, Chun-Ji's expression also became sad. As expected, prostitutes are a symbol of destruction and only harm people. As soon as she said this, the sound of the door opening was heard. What are you two talking about? Noah walked out of the room, looked at Belle, Lily, and Chun-Ji, and sighed. If you want to blame yourselves, then figure out the situation first. Don't take the blame for everything. I attacked Ista because of some personal feelings. You didn't do anything to cause this situation to happen. Do you understand? Noah's voice caused the three people present to turn their gazes over. Then, Belle, Lily, and Chun-Ji saw him. In addition to Noah, Hestia also walked out of the room. However, the expression on Hestia's face was no longer the same as before. Instead, it was replaced by bewilderment and disbelief. Seeing Hestia like this, Belle, Lily, and Chun-Ji were really shocked. What did Noah say to Hestia to make this goddess so shocked? Ignoring Belle, Lily, and Chun-Ji's surprise, Noah straightforwardly announced. I have 3 things to announce to you. Belle, Lily, and Chun-Ji's faces were shaken, and they couldn't help but concentrate. Under such circumstances, Noah began to announce. First, I will be leaving the clan for a period of time. I don't know how long this period of time will be, but it should be around a year and a half. The announcement was not unexpected, and Belle, Lily, and Chun-Ji lowered their heads. However, what happened next shocked the 3 of them once again. The second thing is that from today onwards, Chun-Ji will join Hestia's clan and become a member of her clan. Chapter 2016. WH. What? When Noah's second announcement reached the ears of everyone present, the first to make a sound of surprise was none other than Chun-Ji herself. What's wrong? Noah asked casually as if he had expected this reaction. You don't want to? Chun-Ji? No. No. Chun-Ji reacted and spoke somewhat anxiously. But, if Chun-Ji joins this clan tribe, then won't Sir have to leave alone? What's the problem with that? Noah shook his head with a smile. I'm just leaving temporarily, not wandering the world from now on. Do you want to follow me all the time? But. Chun-Ji lowered her head as if she couldn't let go and spoke in a mosquito-like voice. In that case, won't Sir Noah feel lonely? No. Noah replied without any hesitation. I'm not alone. Not to mention the fact that I have 4 little girls by my side, I know quite a lot of people in this city. In addition, there will definitely be troubles, big and small, coming to find me one after another. I won't be lonely. Is that so? Chun-Ji didn't know if she was relieved or disappointed. She kept her head lowered as if she wanted to say something but couldn't. Looking at Chun-Ji like this, the smile on Noah's face turned into a bitter smile. I know what you're thinking. You feel that you caused me to have to leave the clan tribe. In this situation, you join my clan tribe instead. That's like taking my place, right? Not only that. Chun-ji still lowered her head, and her voice was still so soft, but it clearly reached the ears of everyone present. Chun-ji once promised Sir that as long as Sir can redeem Chun-ji will follow you no matter where you are. Therefore, Chun-ji wants to fulfill her promise. Is that so? Noah muttered to himself for a while, and his gaze towards Chun-ji became a little gentle as he said so. In that case, you have to help me guard this clan tribe obediently and wait for me to come back, understand? Hearing Noah's words, Chun-ji fell silent. After a long while, she raised her head and said such a sentence. Since this is Milord's arrangement, then Chun-ji will do as you say. After saying that, Chun-ji turned around and bowed to Hestia, Belle, and Lily. In the future, I look forward to your guidance. Bale and Lily subconsciously shifted their gazes to Hestia upon hearing this. Under the gazes of Belle and Lily, Hestia looked at Chun-ji with a complicated expression before sighing and nodding. Seeing this, Belle and Lily understood. Hestia agreed to Noah's arrangement. The addition of Chun-ji has an extraordinary meaning to this clan tribe. After Chun-ji joins, you will know how precious she is. I hope you will treat her as a true comrade. I have promised others that I will take good care of her. Noah smiled. Then, it's time for the last thing. Then, Noah looked at Belle and made an announcement that would shock everyone to death. Belle, during the time that I'm not around, you will be the leader of the clan tribe. Huh? Belle was stunned. After regaining his senses, he couldn't help but cry out in surprise. I'm the leader? Of course it's you, Noah said matter-of-factly. In this clan tribe, except for me, you are the first member of Hestia's group, and Lily and Chun-ji are both LV-1 rookies. Only you are a LV-2 senior adventurer. If you don't want to be the leader, who will? But I can't. Belle was extremely terrified. I can't be as outstanding as the leader. No one is asking you to learn from me. You just have to do what you can, Noah announced in an unquestionable tone. In short, as the only man in the clan tribe, you have to bear the responsibility of protecting the clan tribe and your companions. If you don't want to do it, then pretend that I didn't say anything. Belle's expression began to change. He glanced at Lily, Chun-ji, and Hestia. Then, he finally mustered up his courage. I will do my best. That's enough. Noah nodded and turned to Lily. As for the miscellaneous matters in the clan tribe, I'll leave them to you, Lily. I understand, Sir Noah. Lily nodded heavily. Lily will do her best. That's good. Noah shrugged. All right, that's all for the announcement. There was no one who didn't know what these words meant. At that moment, Belle, Lily, and Chun-ji didn't know what to say. They were all speechless. Noah turned around and looked at Hestia, who had a complicated expression on her face. He smiled helplessly and squatted down. Don't look like that, Noah reached out and pinched Hestia's delicate cheeks and began to rub them. Even if I leave the clan tribe, it doesn't mean that our relationship is severed. It also doesn't mean that we won't be involved anymore. I'm just going out to lie low. Hestia didn't say anything and allowed Noah to rub her cheeks. She recalled all the fantastical things that Noah told her just now. Her mood was really complicated. In the past, Hestia had known that Noah had a huge secret. He didn't need the grace of a god to be almost invincible. There were all kinds of strange and incomparably magical abilities. Even Freya was shocked by the brilliance of the soul. It surpassed all species, including the terrifying possibilities of the gods. All the evidence proved that Noah was extraordinary. However, Hestia didn't expect him to be extraordinary to this extent. If it wasn't for the fact that as a goddess, Hestia could clearly see that Noah wasn't lying, no matter how much she trusted Noah, she would have doubted all the fantastical things that Noah just mentioned. However, it was useless to doubt him. After all, Noah had already let Hestia see his back. The ability points that should have belonged to Hestia had long disappeared, proving that Noah's words were true. Even though Hestia was a god, she was still overwhelmed by the unprecedented new worldview. Her heart was filled with complicated feelings. There was only one thing that Hestia was sure of. That was, the child in front of her didn't just belong to her, but to this world. No. He didn't just belong to this world. This existence named Noah should belong to the thousands of worlds that were waiting for him to save. After understanding this, Hestia couldn't suppress the loneliness that rose in her heart. In the end, the child that she loved the most still didn't belong to her. Even if he wasn't taken away by Freya or Loki, he still didn't belong to her. Just as Hestia couldn't help but feel a trace of bitterness in her heart, the hand that was rubbing her cheek started to become gentler. Then, a sentence pierced into Hestia's heart. Even if I leave this clan, the blood that you dripped into my body countless times still stays in my body and becomes an indispensable part of my power. Noah stroked Hestia's head and suddenly smiled. I haven't completely lost the favor you left me. It will help me defeat my fate, which is why the bond between you and me can no longer be severed by a mere spawn. Regardless, we'll still be family, won't we? Hestia raised her eyes slightly and looked at Noah's face. Her eyes started to tear up. Cheer up. Noah patted Hestia's head. Don't look like you're going to be separated forever. You're a goddess. What haven't you seen in thousands of years? Isn't that right? It's all your fault. Hestia's tears turned into a smile. Then, she took a deep breath and whispered to Noah very seriously. Don't wander around outside for too long, don't flatter other women, and don't join the clans of other goddesses. What do you mean wander around? When did I flatter any woman, Au? Noah didn't know whether to laugh or cry. As for the other clans, other than Freya and Loki, no one has the guts to let me join, right? With that, Noah looked up at the sky outside the window and whispered softly. After all, I'm a taboo godslayer. Chapter 2017. Due to the incident of Noah killing a deity, every street in Eulalia was very lively today. A group of adventurers who didn't carry any armor and only carried weapons for self-defense gathered in the hotels and inns in twos and threes. They were discussing this matter that had caused a huge uproar in the city. Under such circumstances, on one of the 8 avenues that led to the central square where the Tower of Babel was located, the pedestrians there saw a person coming from the street in front of them. As soon as they saw that person, everyone opened their eyes wide. Then, like birds and beasts, they scattered and made a path for him. Walking on such a street that had suddenly become incomparably spacious, Noah felt a sense of helplessness while enduring the fearful gazes of the surrounding pedestrians. Has it really become like this? If it was said that in the past, the pedestrians often looked at Noah with awe, then now, there was only fear left. This was because the man in front of them was no longer just the famous tyrant, but a deicide who was feared by the people. If he dared to kill a deity, then what else would he not dare to kill? Once this thought came to their minds, it was inevitable that they would look at Noah with a strong sense of fear in their eyes. Fortunately, the matter of Noah being expelled from the clan was known to everyone. Knowing that the person in front of them had received the punishment he deserved, the pedestrians felt a little comforted in their hearts. Otherwise, the people here would have run away. Fortunately, the guild and the deities gave Noah face and did not offend him too much. Otherwise, if Noah really made a scene, the residents of Eulalia would not only look at Noah with fear in their eyes, but also with complete fear. Thinking of this, Noah continued to walk in the direction of the central square under the fearful gazes of the bystanders. In the past, the closer one was to the central square, the more lively the surroundings were. But today, almost all the adventurers were talking about Noah killing a deity, so the number of adventurers who went to the dungeon was almost less than 1/10 of the usual number, making the usually bustling central square seem a little sparse. Noah walked in the direction of the dungeon under everyone's gazes. After coming to this world, he had already met the people he wanted to meet. He had also done what he had to do. He had even killed a god. Because of this, he had stirred up a storm in the city. Now, Noah had officially withdrawn from Hestia's clan. Since he had met the people he should have met, done what he should have done, and even his spawn had left, there was no reason for Noah to continue staying in this world. Therefore, Noah planned to enter the underground city directly and return to the world between worlds. He wanted to continue meeting the people and places that he had yet to catch up with. Unfortunately, this plan was not implemented in time. Just as Noah was about to enter the dungeon, a few tall figures approached and surrounded Noah. Noah suddenly stopped in his tracks and raised his head to look at the tall figure in front of him. The newcomer was clad in leather armor made from animal skin. He carried a large saber on his back. There was a scar on his face. He met Noah's gaze and grinned. "Oh, isn't this that tyrant who was expelled from his spawn tribe? You still want to enter the dungeon after losing your ability points? Are you looking for death?" Following the ridicule of the scarred man, the other two adventurers who blocked Noah's path also laughed. "You still want to enter the dungeon after losing your ability points? Do you think you're still the omnipotent tyrant?" He probably can't accept the feeling of losing his ability points and is anxious to enter the dungeon to prove himself. But isn't that looking for death? Isn't that obvious? Bursts of harsh ridicule came from the mouths of the adventurers who blocked the way. Noah raised his eyebrows and couldn't help but feel amused. So this was the so-called, when a tiger falls to the ground, he will be bullied by dogs. In this world, there were always some fellows who took advantage of others when they were down and couldn't wait to find some sense of superiority to prove themselves. And these people were usually the most classic small characters. Noah didn't expect that he would encounter such a situation before he left. For a moment, he couldn't help but smile. However, in the eyes of these people who were anxious to find a reason to cause trouble, Noah's performance was simply the best opportunity. "What are you laughing at?" the scarred man shouted with a ferocious expression. "Do you really think you're still the tyrant? You've already lost your ability points, do you know that?" It seemed that the other party thought that Noah had lost his ability points, which was why they dared to find trouble in front of Noah. After all, they knew that Noah was the same as the ancient warriors. Even if he didn't rely on God's grace, he would still be a powerful existence. Other than the gods, only a few people were well informed. Even if the rest heard about it, they wouldn't believe it. The three adventurers in front of him obviously didn't think that the current Noah could play any tricks. Looking at these three pitiful small characters, Noah smiled slightly and said such a sentence. "I'm not in the mood to play this kind of house game with you today, so I'll give you a chance. It's not too late to leave now." Unfortunately, small characters would always be small characters. Not only did they not listen to Noah's words, but they also looked like they were looking for a sense of superiority but lost face instead. They were all angry. Around them, the adventurers who came to the central square began to pay attention to this side, and all of them began to talk about it. Just as everyone was waiting to see what would happen next, an impatient voice rang out. "Get out of my way. Don't block the way." With such a voice, in one of the directions of the central square, a group of people separated the crowd and walked in. Seeing that group of people, the three adventurers who were looking for trouble changed their expressions. "Ro. Loki's family? Why are they here? Damn it." The people who came were the first-level adventurers of Loki's family. With Loki as the leader, Finn, Gareth, Riveria, Tiona, and even Leafia were all there. Of course, Ace was also there. This young girl with bright light golden hair that reached her waist and a pair of eyes that were as bright as the stars was following behind the Loki's family team. However, he didn't know if it was Noah's illusion or not. Noah always felt that Ace seemed to be a little afraid to look at him, but she couldn't help but secretly look at him. As soon as their eyes met, she immediately lowered her head and a faint blush appeared on her pretty face. What's wrong with this girl? Noah couldn't help but wonder. At this time, Tiona, who had just spoken, began to chase them away. "I'll give you a chance." Tiona laughed playfully. "It's not too late to leave now." The same sentence came from Tiona's mouth, but the three adventurers' faces turned green when they heard it. These 3 small fries that came out of nowhere were really small fries. Even their level was only LV1, which was even worse than Bale before he leveled up. It was because they were so weak that they couldn't understand the horror of Noah, which perfectly reflected the saying that the ignorant were fearless. And such people often bullied the weak and feared the strong. You better remember this. Leaving behind such a superficial sentence, the 3 small characters who had appeared out of nowhere immediately slipped away and disappeared without a trace. At this time, Loki looked at Noah, narrowed his eyes, and laughed. You bold little guy, you actually dare to walk on the street with your head held high like this. Do you really think that there's not enough trouble? I didn't do anything wrong, why can't I walk on the street? Noah shrugged and replied with a light tone. However, in the eyes of you gods, I may be regarded as unforgivable. Aren't you afraid that I'll violate the taboo again by getting close to me like this? Okay, don't scare me. It's not the first day I've known you, little guy. Loki curled his lips and said indifferently. If you were really the kind of person who would commit sins for no reason, you wouldn't have come to me to inquire about Sumo's clan because of an inconspicuous thief. That little human girl is called Lily Luca, right? It's said that she's now in your clan? No, that's not right. Loki smiled suddenly. It should be said that she's in your former clan. Chapter 2018. The surrounding atmosphere suddenly became a little tense. Loki emphasized the words former spawn. In addition, there was a somewhat cunning smile on Loki's face, which perfectly illustrated his demeanor as an evil god in myths. Anyone who saw this would subconsciously think that Loki was here to add insult to injury. Even Tiona and Rafia felt that Loki was deliberately picking on Noah, and were at a loss for what to do. Wait, Loki, why did you make it sound so bad? That's right, it's like you're bullying someone. Loki didn't seem to regret his words at all after hearing Tiona and Rafia's words. He still looked at Noah with a smile on his face. Just when Noah couldn't help but want to beat Loki up, Finn, Riveria, and Gareth, the 3 leaders of Loki's spawn, sighed at the same time. Loki, Riveria said mercilessly. You're ugly like this, aren't you? Loki's cunning smile froze. This is jealousy, right? Gareth also mercilessly exposed the reason for Loki's attitude. You're jealous that someone stole the heart of your most beloved child. The corners of Loki's mouth began to twitch. Tiona seemed to have understood what was going on as well, and they immediately murmured to each other. I see. Is this the so-called arrogance of a god? So Loki is this ugly when he's jealous? This time, Loki couldn't help it. What do you little guys understand? Loki shouted as tears flowed down his face. My most beloved AIC has been snatched away by this guy. So what if I'm jealous? Huh? Noah was confused. He looked at Loki blankly and said. When did I steal your ace? You still deny it? Loki glared at Noah. My ace said that she has feelings for you. Loki didn't even have time to finish his sentence. Because in the next second, a long, slender leg kicked Rocky, sending him flying. The one who kicked was naturally AIC. AIC's face was completely red. She didn't even look at Loki, who was knocked into the white wall of the Tower of Babel. She stole a glance at Noah. When she saw Noah looking at her in surprise, she blushed even more. She couldn't help but cover her face with her hands and squat down. The corners of Noah's eyes twitched when he saw Ace in this state. Riveria, Tiona, Gareth, and the others looked at each other as if they had seen a ghost. To be honest, this is the first time I've seen AIC behave like a young girl. The shy AIC is so cute. So AIC has such a side to her? I've learned something new. There are benefits to living a long life. Riveria and Gareth couldn't help but sigh. While Tiona were inexplicably happy, Leafia glared fiercely at Noah as if she was looking at an enemy with deep hatred. Are you guys crazy? Noah really wanted to say that out loud. After all, the development in front of him was too inexplicable. Undoubtedly, Noah could see through Freya's conspiracy and the thoughts of the guild and the gods, but when it came to matters of the heart, he couldn't understand it at all. It wasn't that Noah's EQ was too low. Because of his first impression, Noah treated AIC as a cute little sister, so he didn't think in that direction. Naturally, he didn't know what was going on. Besides, AIC didn't give Noah the impression that she was a girl who would fall in love. A girl who pursued power all day long, even if she was so cute and beautiful, it was hard for others to imagine her in love. Therefore, even Riveria's group, who had long known the truth, were astonished. So, Noah made an assumption without permission. It seems that these people have something on AIC that they can't let me know. This guess could not be said to be wrong. It was just that it wasn't so easy to find out the truth. Seeing Noah's speechless look, Finn smiled bitterly and said so. Well, don't take it to heart. Just treat it as the usual playfulness of our clan tribe members. Maybe that's better. Noah rubbed his eyebrows, forced himself not to understand this matter, and asked straightforwardly. So, why are you looking for me? Noah also saw it. Loki's clan was here for him. We do have something important to talk to you about. Finn spread his hands. As the leader, I really want to talk to you, but since our Lord God is here, it might be more appropriate to let her talk to you. As he said so, Finn pointed in the direction of the Tower of Babel. There, Loki covered his nose and limped over. AIC is so heavy-handed, she really needs to be taught a lesson. Noah felt that the one who really needed to be taught a lesson was Loki, not AIC. If you have something to say, just say it. Noah sighed. Since you chose to come to me, the taboo god slayer, it's definitely not as simple as catching up, right? Suddenly, everyone in Loki's clan, including Finn, quieted down. Loki also touched his red nose, but he didn't even look at Noah, as if he was chatting casually, and said so. Then I'll be straightforward. Since you left the little dwarf's clan, do you want to consider coming to me? This sentence made Noah sigh again. Obviously, Noah had already guessed Loki's intentions. I thought that even if it was you, facing someone who hurt your own clan, even if you covet it, you would have to consider it in this situation. Noah looked at Loki. If there's a god slayer in your clan, how do you think the other clans will look at you? Just like in modern society, when people hired employees, they basically wouldn't hire those who had a criminal record. If there was a person who committed the taboo of killing a god in a clan, it would definitely attract a lot of different gazes. As long as there was an existence in this clan who dared to kill a god, it would make those who wanted to join the clan think twice. If it was Freya, she could still rely on her ability to charm people to continue to join the clan, but Loki couldn't do anything, right? In the end, Loki still came to invite Noah. Because I think you're worth it. Loki showed an arrogant smile. Besides, I don't need cowards in my clan. These were the original words of the evil god who once let a group of gods kill each other in order to relieve boredom in the heavens. That's right, others would be wary of a god slayer, but Loki wouldn't. Because this goddess was not a kind person to begin with. Moreover, this evil god was extremely biased towards the children in his clan. Therefore, Noah actually had a good impression of Loki. At that moment, Noah closed his eyes and fell into deep thought. There's a chance. The eyes of all the members of Loki's clan lit up. Including AIC, who looked at Noah with a hint of anticipation. Under such circumstances, not long after, Noah opened his eyes, looked at Loki, and stretched out 2 fingers. 2 things. If you promise me, then I'll agree. Okay. Loki said without hesitation. Say it. First, Noah said slowly. Before I die, you are never allowed to make an enemy of Hastia, and when Hastia's clan is in trouble, Loki's clan must help. What? Loki jumped up. You want me to help that shorty? Don't even think about it. Then there's nothing to say, Noah said straightforwardly. Bye-bye. Wait, wait, wait. Loki quickly grabbed Noah, and after hesitating for a while, clenched his teeth and nodded. Okay, before you die, if anything happens to that shorty, I will definitely help. Is that okay? Then, the second thing. Noah suddenly smiled. One day, I will return to Hastia's clan, and when that time comes, you can't refuse. Loki felt his vision go black and fell on the spot, causing the members to cry out in shock. Chapter 2019. Ah. Big loss. Big loss. In a deserted alley to the north of Eulalia, Loki was walking in front of the group while constantly shouting. I never thought that I, Loki, would suffer such a big loss one day. I really didn't expect it. The group of first-level adventurers following behind Loki were extremely helpless. Especially Noah, who didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Unfortunately, Loki was still yelling. The yelling made Loki's people feel a little annoyed. I say, are you done calling me that? Riveria raised her beautiful eyebrows. If this goes on, it will really make people feel very annoyed. Tiona and Tioni immediately agreed. Yeah. I feel a little annoyed. The words of the Amazon twins undoubtedly made Loki even more dissatisfied. Do you have any sympathy? Loki continued to sigh. I'm so sad, and you're still scolding me. How can I have a group of inconsiderate children like you? With that, Loki glanced at Noah again and sighed. Why did I agree to such a bad deal? Bad deal. It really wasn't worth it. One must know that Loki had to pay a lot to recruit Noah into his clan. Having a godslayer in the clan tribe would not only affect the clan tribe's reputation, but it would also affect the number of new members who joined the clan. Loki paid such a price to recruit Noah into his clan, but in exchange, he had to protect the clan of his sworn enemy, Hastia, for the rest of Noah's life. That was fine. If he could get Noah to join his clan, then protecting the clan of that poor godslayer for 100 years would not be a loss. The reason that really made Loki feel unbalanced was Noah's second condition. I paid so much, and in the end, it's just a temporary addition. He'll have to leave sooner or later. It's not worth it, is it? Loki kept complaining. I really want to ask myself if I had too much to drink before I agreed to this. Loki's words were not without reason. He paid so much for Noah's joining, but in the end, Noah stated that he would leave sooner or later, and they still had to fulfill the conditions they agreed to before. It was a loss no matter how he thought about it. Not to mention Loki, even Noah felt that this was a bit too much. The matter of protecting Hastia's clan could be repaid with Noah's joining. But Noah's joining was not only a benefit, but also an unavoidable disadvantage. In the end, it was the title of Godslayer that caused the trouble. In fact, Noah already had a solution for this. He planned to propose it when Loki refused his conditions to prevent Loki's clan from being affected by his joining. In that way, Loki should agree. Unexpectedly, before Noah could propose the solution, Loki gritted his teeth and agreed. This surprised Noah. Who would have thought that just joining for a short period of time would cost so much, and that Loki would actually agree? It seems that this evil god appreciates him more than he thought. Seeing that Loki still had the tendency to continue complaining, Noah sighed. Well, don't look like you've been cheated by me. At least, I promise you that my joining will never bring harm to Loki's clan. Is that okay? Won't bring harm? The people of Loki's clan were startled and stopped. Won't bring harm? Loki was also surprised, and then he looked at Noah. Under the gaze of all the people of Loki's clan, Noah smiled slightly, stretched out his hand, and slowly wiped his face. What? All the people of Loki's clan exclaimed out loud. Even Aze, who had been silent, opened her pair of gem-like eyes wide and froze there. Under Noah's swipe, the face that appeared before everyone's eyes was no longer that familiar face. Instead, it was a completely unfamiliar face. It was a standard common face, the kind that would never be recognized in a crowd. Compared to this face, Noah's original appearance was many times more handsome. With such a common face, Noah opened his hand, as if showing his appearance to everyone, and said so. "Now, can you still recognize me?" Hearing this, everyone came to their senses. Loki, Riveria, and Rafia all cried out in surprise. Transformation magic? Yes. Transformation magic. To be more precise, it should be transformation magic. Noah infused his magic power with the imagination of transformation, changing himself into another appearance. Admittedly, in terms of magic, Noah's talent was almost in the aspect of crush, and only when using crush was the most powerful. However, that didn't mean that Noah couldn't inject his imagination into his magic. Like the magic of fire, Noah could also use it, but it was far from the level where it could be used in battle. And this transformation magic was based on the same principle. Noah could transform into the rest of his appearance by infusing his magic power into his imagination of transformation. After all, as Noah's wife, Mira not only used superb reception magic, but was also a first-class expert in transformation magic. With such a wife, although Noah didn't learn transformation magic, he had a deeper imagination in the aspect of transformation. With such a wife, he could smoothly inject his magic and use it to transform. As long as I use this appearance to join Loki's clan, then no one will know that the infamous God Slayer is in this clan, right? Noah scratched his face after the transformation and spread out his hands. This way, Loki's clan won't be implicated by me. Lord Loki, are you satisfied? Not bad, not bad. Loki nodded repeatedly. He even walked around Noah. After a while, he frowned and said, "Don't worry, Noah. However, if you only change your face, then you can still see a lot of things." Tiona, Tioni, and Lefia also nodded and spoke to each other. "I always feel that I can still see the shadow of the little brother. Even if he doesn't look amazing, his temperament hasn't changed much." I also think that if you look carefully, you can still recognize Mr. Noah." The three girls' words made Finn, Riveria, and Gareth, the three leaders of Loki's clan, nod in agreement and express their opinions. This is the so-called people of noble birth. Even in their bones, there is a sense of nobility, right? Just like in the elves, the royal family will naturally have a trace of majesty, and it will be easy to be recognized by those in the know. Even if he changes his appearance, that feeling of power is still overwhelming. After everyone expressed their opinions, AIC, who was watching Noah closely, also seemed to be deep in thought. After a while, she said softly, "His presence is too strong, and he will be noticed by others at once." In one sentence, she outlined all the flaws of Noah's transformation. However, that couldn't be helped. Noah's temperament was originally more otherworldly, and his body was hosted by the third perpetual motion machine, a spirit that was the crystallization of human imagination. In addition, he was a reincarnation of a complete fragment of a starting world. No matter how ordinary he looked, he would be exposed because of a strong sense of presence. Is that so? Noah closed his eyes as expected. At this moment, the mana flowing in Noah's body like a torrent slowed down bit by bit, and finally became as slow as a snail crawling. Under such circumstances, Noah's aura, temperament, and sense of presence also weakened bit by bit, and finally converged to become like an ordinary person. Witnessing such a change in Noah with their own eyes, the people of Loki's clan were only amazed. Then, Noah opened his eyes, and a very ordinary smile appeared on his face that was not too good-looking, but also not offensive. If I converge my aura, the sense of presence will also weaken a lot. Now, is there still a way to be recognized? Looking at the young man with a smile in front of them, who was just like the most ordinary passerby, everyone was really curious. Good, there's no problem like this. Loki was even more satisfied and waved his hand. Little ones, let's go home. After saying that, Loki walked in the direction of the base camp in high spirits, and there was no more resentment at the beginning. Seeing this, everyone looked at each other and helplessly followed him. Chapter 2020. Noah had been to the base camp of Loki's clan once before. That was not long after he met Lily, when he planned to inquire about the information of Sumo's clan. At that time, in order to understand what happened to Lily, Noah went to the base camp of Loki's clan and got information about Sumo's clan from Loki. Therefore, Noah was no stranger to this place, that he had been here once, even if he was not familiar with it. It's just that, I didn't expect to come here again and become one of the residents here. At the northernmost end of Eulalie, in front of a road, Noah looked at the building in front of him and fell into a state of emotion. Just like the first time he came, the building in front of him was still strange. Undoubtedly, it did not cover a large area, but it was quite magnificent. Its height was much higher than any building in the surrounding area. It was made up of several high-rise towers overlapping, like a sword mountain, and its appearance was purple copper. The last time he came, Noah did not observe it very carefully. It was not until now that he realized that this building was really special. Behind the gate, the space in front of the building was built into a courtyard. The courtyard was not very spacious, just occupying the space between the gate and the house, and planted a few plants and flowers of various colors. As for the building behind the courtyard, it was really strange. The overlapping towers were completely connected at the bottom, but they were all separated from the middle, built into towers, just like a large steel hedgehog. Of course, the towers were not completely unconnected. Between the separated towers, there were actually corridors in the air, connecting the towers and surrounding a tower in the center. At the top of the tower, a flag with a clown pattern fluttered in the wind. That flag was the exclusive coat of arms of Loki's clan. Whether it was the appearance of the base camp or the coat of arms of the clan, they all perfectly interpreted the personality of the main god of this clan. Just like that, Loki led a group of clan tribe members and charged over in a grandiose manner. The two guards guarding the gate immediately reacted. Lord Loki! Lord Loki! Lords! The first-level adventurers of Loki's clan nodded in response. We're back. Rocky waved his hand. Open the door. Yes, sir. One of the guards answered. This. Another guard noticed Noah. Of course, that was the Noah who had completely changed his appearance. Seeing that their main god and a group of level 1 adventurers were accompanied by such a stranger, the guard asked almost reflexively. Oh. Are you talking about this little guy? Loki patted Noah's shoulder without changing his expression and said casually. This is a potential stock that I've just dug up. From today onwards, he'll join our clan. Look carefully, don't mistake him. Remember to open the door for him. Otherwise, if this little guy goes out and doesn't come back, I'll make your little butts bloom. Rocky's words made the two guards cover their butts almost subconsciously, their faces turning green. Seeing this scene, Noah almost misunderstood. Could it be that Loki really hit the butts of these two guards? Just as Noah was making malicious guesses, the door had been slowly opened. Let's go in. Loki grinned at Noah. Let me introduce you to this place properly. If you're not familiar with it and accidentally break into a girl's room and bump into something good, I won't let you go, okay? Noah was immediately speechless, which made AIC and the others couldn't help but laugh. However, it had to be said that such a thing was not impossible. The base camp of Loki's clan was designed in a rather peculiar manner. If one were to randomly barge in, it was entirely possible to accidentally get lost. In addition, Loki had a preference for cute and beautiful girls. Most of the female members of the clan were as beautiful as flowers. It was not impossible to enter the wrong room. Recalling that he had encountered this situation many times before, Noah secretly decided that he must find out the terrain of Loki's clan's base camp today. Under such circumstances, Loki led Noah into the mansion and began to introduce it. Unlike Hastia's clan, Loki's clan had a large family business and many rules. As the main god, Loki and Finn, as the leader, led Noah into the mansion and walked up the stairs to the top of the tower. They shuttled through the air corridors and walked to various places while introducing all kinds of things to Noah. Along the way, there were also some explanations from AIC, Tiona, Rafia, Riveria, Gareth, and others. It could be said that it was not detailed. Noah, on the other hand, looked at the entire landscape of Loki's clan while listening to everyone's introductions and explanations in a seemingly casual but extremely serious manner. He memorized them in his heart. Along the way, Noah also encountered many members of Loki's clan, which attracted the attention of many people. Many members of Loki's clan cast surprised and curious gazes at him. After all, apart from Rafia, those who surrounded Noah were all the higher-ups of their own clan first-tier adventurers. Even Rafia was Riveria's heir and was destined to become a part of the higher-ups of Loki's clan in the future. With such a group of people, in addition to the main god, all surrounding Noah and introducing him to the rules of the entire base camp and clan, it was difficult not to attract attention. Many people had already begun to guess what kind of name this newcomer in front of them had that made him worthy of being served by their main gods and higher-ups. Amidst the curiosity and attention of many, Noah only finished touring the entire clan's base camp in the evening. All that's left is your room. In the corridor of the central tower, Loki led the way forward and said this leisurely. However, before that, it's best that you complete your sect change first. Conversion. As the name implied, it was a ritual that needed to be performed to change the clan's affiliation. Those who had joined the clan but wanted to switch to another clan must go through this ritual to truly change their affiliation. Lily, who had been transferred out of Noah's clan, had gone through such a step, so Noah was naturally no stranger to it. Your level registered in the guild seems to be LV3, right? Loki smirked with a seemingly malicious expression. A few months ago, I received the favor of that shorty. Not long ago, I registered as a LV3 level 2 adventurer. Now, what is your ability value? I'm beginning to wonder. Let's hurry up. Finn and the others also began to be curious after Loki said so. Especially Aze, whose pair of gem-like eyes revealed a sense of expectation. The last time she saw Noah's ability value, it was when Noah taught Crush to Aze. At that time, Noah's ability value had already surprised Aze once. Aze was looking forward to it. She was looking forward to what kind of growth this man, who had always affected her emotions, and her companions in the clan claimed that she liked him. Of course, these people who were looking forward to seeing Noah's ability value did not know. Noah's true ability value was no longer with him. Now, Noah was in the same state as when he first entered this world, in a state where he did not receive any favors. In this way, there was naturally no such thing as conversion. However, Noah nodded very naturally and said, "Don't worry, it's fine. Then let's convert first." After speaking, the group began to rush in the direction of Loki's room. Loki's room was located on the top floor of the central tower surrounded by the rest of the towers. Everyone climbed up the spiral stairs set in the tower and came to the front of this room. Under Loki's lead, they entered together. It was a very sloppy room. Every corner of the room was stuffed with all kinds of miscellaneous items. There were also many small wine cabinets with bottles of wine inside. It was enough to see the hobbies of the owner of the room. Everyone looked at the messy room and was speechless for a moment. Only Loki walked in as if it was natural. Out of nowhere, he took out 2 stools and placed them in the center of the room. He sat down first and called out to Noah. "Take off your shirt and come sit down." Hearing this, Noah did not do as he was told. Instead, he looked at Aze and the others and said in a strange tone, "Are you all planning to watch from here?" Everyone immediately showed a mocking expression. Obviously, these people were all planning to watch from here. Noah could only roll his eyes. Then, he did not refuse. He took off his coat and unbuttoned his shirt, revealing his upper body. "Wow, that's quite sturdy." Tiona stared at Noah's shirtless appearance with shining eyes. Aze and Leafia, who had never seen the body of the opposite sex, blushed fiercely and became shy. However, everyone seemed to have understood what he meant. They turned their gazes and looked behind Noah. Then, everyone on the scene saw it. On Noah's back, there was a huge inscription that covered almost all of Noah's back. It was imprinted in everyone's eyes. However, the inscription was somewhat dim, and even the color had faded a lot, making it impossible for others to see the message engraved on it. It was a sign that the ability value was in a sealed state. It had not been activated, and there were no signs of it increasing. Although Noah did not have the so-called ability value now, the grace engraved on his back was just a fake. Chapter 2021. At this moment, the ability value engraved on Noah's back was naturally fake. Although he had a good relationship with the upper echelons of Loki's clan, it was only good. It was not to the extent that Noah would confess everything to Loki and the others. Therefore, when he decided to join Loki's clan, Noah had already used magic power to imitate a fake ability value in order to deceive the people of Loki's clan. Of course, while using magic power to imitate the ability value, Noah also converted a part of the magic power in his body into divine power, so that the ability value would have the aura of divine blood. Otherwise, the ability value imitated would definitely be seen through by Loki, who had engraved the ability value countless times. Only the sacred text dripped with divine blood was the true grace of God. Therefore, when operating the divine power from Hestia's divine blood, the sacred text Noah used magic power to engrave on his back could also be regarded as an authentic ability value. The only difference was that it had no effect. Thus, under the gaze of everyone present, Noah sat down with his back facing Loki. Humph, Loki revealed a cunning smile that was very characteristic of him. Didn't that Shorty's most precious child fall into my hands in the end? Let me remind you that the matter of me joining your clan is a secret. You can't mention it to Hestia, Noah warned. If you deliberately provoke Hestia, I'll leave immediately. Loki, whose thoughts were seen through, was suddenly speechless. Then, he glared at Noah hatefully and muttered. I'm simply looking for trouble to provoke a guy like you who has no taboos. With such a sentence, Loki took out a needle and pierced his finger, letting a drop of divine blood seep out. Without any hesitation, Loki stained the drop of divine blood on the engraving on Noah's back. Clang, the engraving that was like an inscription suddenly bloomed with a faint blue light. Under the faint blue light, Loki began to slide his finger and change the origin. Following Loki's movements, the engraving on Noah's back that could not be seen clearly began to move rhythmically and gradually changed. Of course, this phenomenon was completely carried out by Noah and Loki. Noah had gone through many skill upgrades in the past. Therefore, Loki only needed to slide her fingers and feel the trajectory of her fingertips. Noah knew what she was going to do. Therefore, Noah cooperated with Loki's movements and allowed the magic power and divine power in his body to work at the same time, changing the ability value that appeared behind him. Not long after, the engraving on Noah's back changed completely. The divine text did not change much though. However, the pattern that set off the sacred words had changed. Different chief gods' depictions of the grace presented in different appearances. There was a picture of a furnace in Hestia's drawing. The ability value that Loki engraved was very easy to imagine. It was the pattern of the clan tribe's coat of arms. Under such circumstances, the engraving on Noah's back had changed completely and turned into the pattern of a clown's face. As the light faded, the ability value behind Noah's back was completely revealed. Loki, Aes, Reveria, and Rephia, who could read the divine text, immediately went up to him. Noah Doria LV. For strength, A, 846, durability, A, 868, dexterity, A, 855, agility, A, 873, magic power, A, 842, mystery, H magic guide, I swordsman, I magic, magic cannon, projectile magic. Extremely malleable. According to the different chanting methods, the power and scale can be changed. Strengthening, permanent magic. Ability value has been comprehensively improved. According to the amount of spiritual power, magic power, consumed, the degree is determined. Materialization, imitation magic. Only limited to imagination. When the imagination is too weak, the power decreases and there is a certain chance of failure. Skills, protection from the world, permanent skill. Equivalent to luck. Events that are directly related to luck will eventually lead to the most favorable result. Looking at the ability value that gradually appeared, Loki, Aes, Rifia, and Riveria all fell into silence. What's wrong? Tiona couldn't help but ask. Could it be that little brother's ability value has some surprising part? Tiona, Finn, and Gareth also looked at Aes, Rifia, and Riveria, and there was the same question in their eyes as Tiona. In this regard, not to mention Aes, Rifia, and Riveria both smiled bitterly. The last time we saw Noah's ability value, he was only LV2, right? Riveria said with a sigh. But now, he is already LV4, and his all-around ability value has reached stage A. Tiona, Finn, and Gareth's eyes twitched fiercely. That's not all, is it? Leafia explained as if she was using both her hands and legs. Last time, when we saw Mr. Noah's ability value, Mr. Noah's 3 magic columns were still empty, but now they are all empty. In other words, in just a few months, Noah not only jumped from LV2 to LV4, but also mastered 3 spells. In terms of growth speed alone, it could almost be described as breaking through the sky. I don't know what to say. Loki touched his forehead as if he was trying his best to correct his worldview that was about to be distorted. He withdrew his gaze from Noah and threw out such a sentence. Now, even if this kid jumps to LV7, I won't be surprised. Hearing this, everyone present looked at each other, and they didn't know what to say for a while. Only Aes, there was obvious envy in her eyes. He's really growing fast. It would be great if he could grow as fast as Huiyuhao. Under the indescribable expressions and eyes of everyone present, Noah muttered in his heart. Surprised just like that? It must be known that before his ability value entered the sublimation stage, Noah had repeatedly achieved miraculous feats in the box court. He had even killed 2 humans in the final trial. God knows how many gods and Buddhas he had slaughtered. His level had long surpassed the highest level in this world, LV7. If these people knew his true ability value state, wouldn't they be confused? Fortunately, the ability value he imitated was the state he was in when he left this world last time, and not the state he was in at his peak. As for the 3 spells, Noah added them according to his own magic canon, enhancement, and magic power. In this way, when he used the magic canon and magic power in front of the members of Loki's clan in the future, it would not arouse the suspicion of those who did not know his true identity. After all, the existence that could use many magical means different from grace was currently limited to a tyrant, not a newcomer who had just joined Loki's clan today. Seeing that Loki was complaining again and again, but in fact, he did not hesitate to accept him and accept his unreasonable conditions, Noah had to do it thoroughly no matter what to avoid exposing his identity and bringing trouble to Loki's clan. Moreover, Noah withdrew from Hestia's clan in order to avoid the limelight. Hiding his identity like this and disappearing in public was undoubtedly the easiest way to calm down the limelight. But, as Riveria said, you really do have a mysterious ability to develop, don't you? Loki said with a smile. There are less than 5 development abilities in all of Eulalia, and I finally picked one up. It's just that this swordsman, that increases the power of the sword system, and magician, that increases the effect of magic, actually appeared on the same person at the same time. It's really interesting. With that said, Loki once again dripped divine blood on Noah's back. With a light stroke, the ability value that appeared on Noah's back rippled like water and gradually disappeared. Okay, I've added a lock for you. Loki patted Noah's back. So the change is complete. I'll take care of you in the future, little guy. Since you're taking care of me, then don't call me little guy. Noah curled his lips. I have a name. But, how should we call you? Finty asked. We can't call you by your real name, right? Hearing this, Noah also frowned. However, in the next second, Noah's brows relaxed and he smiled faintly. In that case, you can call me Drake from now on. Chapter 2022. Recruiting Noah into his clan seemed to really make Loki very happy. Therefore, as soon as the change was completed, the goddess completely revealed her true form. She opened a few bottles of wine in the room and actually started a banquet on her own. For a moment, the smell of wine filled the entire room, making Rifaia and Riveria frown. As pure and beautiful elves, Rifaia and Riveria didn't like wine from the bottom of their hearts. Even if they drank, they would never drink too much. How could they be like Loki, who opened a few bottles at a time? But Loki didn't care at all, displaying the greatest characteristic of a god who loved entertainment: willful and reckless. Therefore, everyone present was asked to stay by Loki, and under Loki's ruckus, they had no choice but to drink wine. They drank until the sky turned dark. It wasn't until the dusk in the sky began to fade that Loki's door was rudely pushed open. "I say, do you still want to eat or not?" The one who spoke in such a rude and impolite tone and walked in from the door was an extremely handsome werewolf youth with a lightning-shaped tattoo on his face. Impressively, it was the last level 1 adventurer of Loki's clan, Bert. Looking at the werewolf who he hadn't seen for a long time, Noah, who was being hugged by Loki's shoulder and had a bottle of wine stuffed in his hand, glanced over. Although the relationship between Hestia and Loki was like fire and water, because Loki appreciated Noah very much, he didn't restrict the relationship between the children of his clan and Noah. Noah was quite familiar with the higher-ups of Loki's clan, and now that he had joined this clan, there was nothing to be restrained about. The rest of the members of Loki's clan were complete strangers to Noah. Except for Bert. If there was anyone in Loki's clan who didn't have a good relationship with Noah, it would be Bert. After all, when they first met, this unruly werewolf found trouble with Noah. Noah wanted to know what kind of expression Bert would have when he knew his true identity. Bert was also a high-ranking member of Loki's clan. So, Loki and Finn should have told this secret to Bert, right? Who would have thought that Rocky didn't even have the slightest hint of an explanation? He just grinned at Bert. "What? So it's Bert? You idiot goddess, I was wondering what you were doing. So you were forcing everyone to drink with you?" Bert glared at Loki fiercely. "Everyone should eat together. Undoubtedly, it was you, the goddess, who made this rule, but now you're the first to skip dinner. What are you thinking?" In Loki's clan, Loki did have a rule that everyone had to eat together. Noah also knew about this rule, and at the same time, he also had a good impression of this rule. The reason was simple. This way, they would be more like a family. Loki, on the other hand, didn't seem to notice the time until now. He slapped his head. "Oh no, I was so happy that I completely forgot about dinner. Don't tell me everyone is waiting in the restaurant? Isn't that obvious?" Bo-Tay almost flipped out. "The level 1 adventurers aren't all here yet. Who dares to eat?" "That's true." Finn put down the bottle in his hand and exhaled. He seemed to have recovered from his shock and stood up. "Everyone, hurry up and eat. Don't let everyone wait too long." Everyone immediately stood up as if relieved of a heavy burden. "Great, I've been wanting to slip away for a long time. Tiona, if we keep drinking like this, we'll definitely be drunk by Loki." "Tiona, remember the last time Loki got drunk, Leafia was almost carried back to her room by Loki?" "Gareth, in the end, I intervened in time and saved Leafia. Otherwise, who knows how she would have been bullied." Riveria, everyone's relieved words made Leafia recall what happened at that time. Her pretty face paled. Obviously, for Leafia, it was definitely something that could be called a psychological shadow. AIC gently patted Rifaia's back as if she was comforting her, causing Rifaia to be touched. And Noah, who inadvertently found out something that he shouldn't know, was speechless. It seemed like this clan of one of the 2 monarchs known as Eulalie was much happier than he imagined. At that moment, Bo-Tay finally noticed Noah. Looking at the unfamiliar face, Bo-Tay pursed his brows. "Who is this?" Bo-Tay's impolite tone would definitely make one think that he was looking for trouble. However, it was similar to the first time Noah met Bo-Tay. It seemed like this werewolf had always used such an unpleasant tone to speak. Just as this thought flashed through Noah's mind, Finn smiled and said so. This is a new bee that we poached when we went out at noon. For the next period of time, we'll be together. As a senior, don't be rude, okay? Bo-Tay raised his brows after hearing Finn's introduction, while Noah was puzzled. What's going on? Why don't they reveal my identity? Logically speaking, as a higher-up of the clan, Bo-Tay should have the right to know my true identity, right? Finn, Riveria, Gareth, AIC, Tiona, Tyone, and even Leafia knew my true identity. Only Bo-Tay, the last higher-up of Rocky's clan, didn't know about it. Wouldn't it be too easy for others to think that they were ostracizing him and causing a dispute? As the leader of a large clan, Finn's approach wasn't worth advocating, right? Not to mention Noah, even AIC and the rest couldn't help but be taken aback. It was apparent that the rest didn't know the reason why Rocky and Finn chose to hide Bo-Tay's identity. But in the next second, Bo-Tay answered everyone's question. When did all of you have so much free time to care about such a small fry? Bo-Tay curled his lips in disdain. I thought all of you went to look for that Noah Doria collectively. I was thinking that if it was because of him that you skipped dinner and made everyone wait in the dining hall, I'll definitely teach him a lesson. While saying this, Bert gnashed his teeth in hatred, causing Noah and the others to come to a sudden realization. So it's because I don't get along with this guy, and once my identity is revealed, it will cause a bigger dispute, so Rocky and Finn chose to hide it? Come to think of it, it makes sense. If Noah was a member of Rocky's clan in the future, it wouldn't be a good decision to hide it. But Noah would have to leave in the end. Since that's the case, rather than revealing it and causing a bigger dispute, it's better to keep it a secret. Noah took the liberty to think so. However, Noah didn't know that. Indeed, once his identity was revealed, he would definitely have a dispute with Bo-Tay. But it definitely wasn't just because of their relationship. Finn, Riveria, Gareth, Tiona, Tyone, and Leafia all turned their gazes towards AIC. AIC was startled and tilted her head with a puzzled expression. The same thought appeared in everyone's mind as they looked at AIC and Noah, who seemed to have come to a sudden realization. If Bert knew that the person AIC liked was here and had even joined the clan tribe, that wolf would definitely explode from anger. After knowing that AIC liked Noah, Bo-Tay was petrified and stayed there for an entire day. Then, he clamored to find Noah for a duel, which almost scared everyone to death. Everyone spent a lot of effort to stop this werewolf who went berserk because of heartbreak. If Noah's identity was revealed here, it would definitely be out of control. With this thought in mind, everyone made up their minds. Noah's true identity must not be revealed to Bo-Tay. Absolutely. Anyway, let's go to the dining hall first, Finn said. No. Drake, you'll sit with us. I'll introduce you to everyone in the dining hall. Noah had no objection and nodded indifferently. Bo-Tay, on the other hand, had an objection. Hey. Are you kidding me? Bo-Tay said unhappily. What's the benefit of letting such a small fry sit at the table of us level 1 adventurers? As soon as Bo-Tay finished his sentence, Tiona and Tyone held Bo-Tay down. Yes, you're the best. The others are small fries, okay? Hurry up and eat, and shut your mouth properly. Don't offend people. With that said, Tiona lifted Bert out of the room in a huff. What are you doing? Bo-Tay struggled. Did I say anything wrong? You idiot Amazons. The twin Amazons didn't care about Bo-Tay at all. They carried Bo-Tay out of the dining hall and disappeared in the direction of the door. Seeing this, everyone was speechless. Don't blame him, he's just a person with a big mouth. It's easy for him to offend people, Riveria said to Noah. Actually, he's not that bad of a guy, probably. Noah immediately rolled his eyes. What did she mean by probably? In short, Noah. No, Mr. Drake, it's best if you don't expose your identity, Leafia quickly said. Otherwise, something will happen. I know. Noah sighed. I'll try my best. On the side, AIC seemed to be apologetic and lowered her head at Noah. Seeing this, Noah had a feeling. His life from now on should be more exciting than before. Chapter 2023. Time quietly passed as Loki's clan welcomed an unknown newcomer. Soon, it was the second day. When the sun began to shine through the window and hit Noah's face, Noah gradually woke up with a warm and soft feeling. The sun shone on the body, and in the cold morning, it naturally brought a warm feeling. The room prepared by Loki's clan for important members was also considered comfortable. The blanket didn't feel rough at all, and Noah couldn't help but hug the soft object tightly. Ugh! In the next second, a soft moan entered Noah's ears. Soft moan? Did the blanket make a sound? Of course, that's impossible. If that's the case, then what is this soft object? Noah instantly woke up. Master, ugh. Following these three soft moans, Noah finally understood what the soft object was. It wasn't a blanket, but it was more comfortable to touch than the highest grade blanket. The one that was tightly hugged by Noah was Aster. Master. Aster seemed to still be asleep. While hugging Noah's neck, she rubbed against Noah's chest with a peaceful expression. Of course, Aster was still completely naked, only wearing a pair of knee socks on her slender legs. The soft and dazzling silver hair draped over Aster's back, and even draped over Noah's body, tickling Noah's chest a little. That appearance was simply like a lazy kitten. The immature but incomparably cute elf girl was just like before. When there was no one around Noah, once she woke up in the morning, she would unknowingly become his sleeping partner. Other than Aster, Orpheus and Lilith had also appeared on the bed. They were hugging Noah tightly, one on the left and one on the right. Although there was no expression on their faces, their breathing was relatively stable. It seemed that they had slept well. The three petite girls who had formed a contract with Noah tightly stuck to Noah and were immersed in their dreams. Moreover, in addition to Aster, even Orpheus and Lilith were completely naked, only wearing black knee socks. Looking at the three girls who were not stingy with their delicate bodies exposed in front of him, Noah really couldn't help but bitterly smile. Orpheus and Lilith have learned bad things from Aster. After all, the dragon gods who didn't know much about worldly affairs liked to eat the most, followed by imitating. This get-up was probably done by imitating Aster, wasn't it? Don't tell me, this will become my sleeping partner's outfit in the future? Noah's face started to become a bit dark. I hope that there won't be any tricks at this time, such as someone suddenly barging in, seeing this scene, and then having a misunderstanding. Although Noah and the people of Loki's family weren't familiar to the extent that they could wake each other up, it was right. Thinking of this, Noah could only smile bitterly while stroking the soft waist-length hair of Aster, Orpheus, and Lilith. Ever since the interior of the gift card had been transformed into a holiday paradise, the number of people accompanying Noah had also increased. Aster, Athena, Orpheus, Lilith and the rest of the girls seemed to have completely settled down in the gift card. They accompanied each other and rarely took the initiative to appear. Perhaps it was also because of the congenial nature of these young ladies? After all, in addition to Athena, Aster, Orpheus, and Lilith were all ignorant of worldly affairs and had an innocent character. Usually, they were also expressionless, so it would be strange if they repelled each other when together. It's just that, having to take care of these three girls should be very troublesome for Athena, right? As soon as he finished speaking, Athena's voice rang in his ears. I'm really touched that you're considerate of me. Hearing Athena's voice, Noah wasn't surprised at all. Turning his head, he looked at the side of the bed. There, Athena was looking out of the window. Her beautiful snake eyes flickered with wisdom that others couldn't perceive. She glanced at Noah. If it weren't for the fact that I've taken care of many young warriors in the past, I wouldn't know how to deal with these children. I think that taking care of warriors and taking care of children shouldn't be the same thing. Noah said somewhat helplessly. But, you seem to be enjoying it. I don't deny that I don't hate to get along with these girls. Athena turned her eyes and looked at Aster, Orpheus, and Lilith. After all, I'm now an elf that was reincarnated based on the existence of the holy sword spirit in your arms. The two dragon gods are the end of the dragon and snake that symbolize infinity and immortality. For me, who used to treat the dragon and snake as my kin and am the goddess of snakes, these three are the subjects that I desire to observe. Observe? Noah was surprised. You're still doing this kind of thing? Observation is the best way to accumulate knowledge and enrich one's thoughts, followed by thinking. No matter what, I was once the goddess of wisdom. It's not a bad idea for me to occasionally do the work of a scholar, Athena said nonchalantly. No matter what, because of you, this concubine and these children will be together for a very, very long time. After saying this, Athena's body glowed with phosphorescent light. Gradually, she turned into light particles and disappeared, returning to the gift card. Looking at Athena like this, Noah pursed his lips. After saying so many mysterious words, isn't it to tell me that you don't hate your current life? If that's the case, can't she just say it frankly? With such an annoyed and funny thought, Noah got up quietly, put the three girls who were still sleeping into the gift card, put on his clothes, and walked out of the room. Adventurers were used to waking up early. Although there were also adventurers who explored the maze in the middle of the night, it was not a common thing. Adventurers were usually active during the day. As a typical exploration-type kin, almost all of the members of Loki's kin were adventurers. Therefore, even though the sky had just brightened, many figures appeared in the stairs and corridors of the towers, walking back and forth. After Noah came out of the room, he also met many people. Good morning, Drager. Good morning. You're called Drager, right? Good morning. One by one, the passing members greeted Noah. Their attitudes weren't exactly warm, but they weren't too unfamiliar with him either. For a newcomer who had just joined the clan, this kind of greeting could definitely make people feel warm. Noah was no exception. While returning the greeting to the passing members, he continued to walk forward. Yesterday, in the restaurant, Finn had introduced Noah to the entire Loki clan, letting everyone know Noah. Therefore, all the members of Loki clan already knew that from today onwards, a newcomer named Drager had joined this clan. However, although he was a newcomer, the members of Loki clan did not dare to treat Noah as a fledgling rookie at all. As for Noah's true identity, Finn and the others concealed it. But for the fake identity of Drager, Finn gave all the members of Loki clan a sentence. Drager came here from outside Eulalie. He used to belong to a clan outside the city. His level has reached LV4, which is only 1 or 2 levels lower than us level 1 adventurers. So, you must not underestimate him. At this point, everyone knew that this newcomer's level was as high as LV4. In the Loki clan, except for the high-level level 1 adventurers, it was already the highest level. Therefore, no one would treat Noah as a real newcomer. If he had the ability, he would be respected by others no matter where he went. Especially in the clan, it was a perfect interpretation of this point. So, Noah walked out of the corridor under the greeting of his new companions in the clan and came to the air corridor connected to another tower. At this time, Noah saw the scene in the courtyard of the base camp through the window of the air corridor. There, a beautiful girl with blonde hair and golden eyes was holding a thin sword in her hand. As if dancing, she was stepping on sharp and crisp steps, dancing with her swordsmanship to her heart's content. There was no doubt that the girl was practicing in the morning. Looking at the girl practicing swordsmanship in the courtyard, Noah raised his eyebrows slightly. Chapter 2024. Clang. A clear and audible sound of the sword resounded over the courtyard. Ha! The golden-haired, golden-eyed girl let out a pleasant cry. The thin, silver-like sword in her hand turned into an endless stream of sword shadows, like layers upon layers of waves. Wave after wave surged in all directions, piercing out streaks of silver trajectories. The sharp sword aura seemed to have been stimulated by that swing and stab. Like an invisible gale, it either streaked across the ground or swept through the surrounding flowers and plants, causing the greenery in all directions to ripple under the gale, causing the flowers and trees to sway back and forth, which was pleasing to the eye. That scene was simply like walking out from a dream. It was extremely beautiful. AIC was so single-minded in her sword dance. That was AIC's daily homework. Since joining the Rocky clan and becoming an adventurer, as long as she was in the base, AIC would finish this set of homework almost every morning. Even though AIC, as a person from the lower realm who had received God's grace, even if she didn't train so hard, she could still rely on killing monsters in the underground city to gain experience points and increase her ability points to become stronger. However, AIC wouldn't be satisfied with that level of progress. This girl had always been pursuing strength. So, in the underground city, the girl worked harder than anyone else, trying to gain more experience points and grow. It was because of this that the girl got the nickname Warrior. And even if she was not in the underground city, the girl worked harder than anyone else to train herself. As an existence at the top of the adventurers, AIC, who had reached LV6, understood better than anyone that even with the enhancement of ability value, if she wanted to be really strong, it was absolutely not enough. A really strong person, in addition to having strength, also needed skill. As Luo Hao said, only when the combination of strength and skill reached the peak of both, that was the real invincible. Therefore, when AIC was in the underground city, she would pursue the opportunity to improve her ability value to get strength, and when she was in the base, she would pursue the opportunity to improve her swordsmanship to get skill. It was because of the combination of the two that AIC became the strongest swordswoman in Eulalia. Her companions in the clan knew that at this time, AIC would be in the courtyard practicing in the morning. Because of this, the members of the clan had reached a tacit understanding that during this time, they would never come to the courtyard to disturb AIC. AIC practiced her swordsmanship wholeheartedly. Sometimes, she made a lightning-like thrust. Sometimes, she made a windmill slash. Sometimes, she made a waterfall-like slash. Sometimes, she made a light slash. Although each move was not complicated, it was quite gorgeous and straightforward, giving people a feeling that it existed only for battle. AIC's concentration had reached a shocking level. She didn't even notice that someone was approaching her. AIC continued to stab, slash, hack, and flick repeatedly. So, under the gaze of the only spectator, AIC finished practicing the sword skills that she had been repeating over and over again. Until the sun rose high in the sky, the earth. SW-. Accompanied by the whistling of the wind, AIC smoothly sheathed the thin sword in her hand into the scabbard at her waist, ending today's practice. Phew, at this time, AIC let out a sigh of relief and relaxed her tense body. At this moment, a round of applause rang out. AIC was stunned. She turned her head and looked at the source of the sound. Immediately, a rather unfamiliar face was imprinted in AIC's eyes. "Your swordsmanship is really good." Noah clapped and made an evaluation that only he could understand. "Even compared to Alusha, it's still comparable, right?" "Who is Alusha?" This question flashed through AIC's mind. Then, AIC seemed to have thought of something extremely important and spoke with uncertainty. "Noah?" Looking at AIC's expression of wanting to recognize him but being afraid of getting the wrong person, Noah stopped clapping and fell into a state of speechlessness. After a long while, he finally said in a puzzled tone, "You're right. Don't tell me you forgot about me?" "No. No." AIC shook her head and lowered it again. "I'm just not used to seeing you like this." "Then get used to it as soon as possible. Don't reveal any flaws in front of your companions in the clan tribe." Noah rolled his eyes. "Also, you should call me Drake, not Noah. Be careful not to be accidentally heard by others." AIC nodded as if she had agreed. Noah walked over and stood in front of AIC. He looked into AIC's crystal clear eyes. Looking at the sword in AIC's hand, Noah spoke softly. Do you often practice swordsmanship in the morning? If I'm not in the underground city, AIC answered truthfully. In the stronghold, I usually practice. What about magic? Noah continued to ask. Didn't you say last time that you would use the morning to practice crush? I'm about to start. AIC was still concise. After practicing swordsmanship, it's time to practice magic. Then, you practiced until noon, only to be stopped by Riveria? Noah said. After being stopped, you went to the underground city and stayed there until night. When you came back, you slept until the next day and continued the same routine? AIC was suddenly stunned. It was as if she was saying, "How did you know?" Noah was really speechless. Aren't you a little too hardworking? Noah scratched his cheek. I feel like I'm comparable to when I went deep into the mountains and forests to practice for a few years. Back then? AIC noticed the key point in Noah's words. Don't you continue now? You still continue in the past, right? Noah couldn't help but smile bitterly. But, after a certain incident, you didn't continue anymore. The certain incident here was the incident where Noah killed God and became the God-slayer. Before that, in order to hone his skills, or to prevent his movements from becoming sluggish, Noah still persisted in training himself. But, after becoming the God-slayer, which violated the rules, Noah no longer needed to do so. After all, as a God-slayer, once he entered battle mode, Noah would be able to exert his full strength. His skills and movements would never become sluggish or rusty because of lack of training. In addition, the God-slayer's characteristics of getting stronger the more he fought and the stronger the opponent. Noah hadn't seriously trained his skills for a long time. At most, he would develop new abilities and powers just like in the previous world. Thinking until here, Noah looked at the sword in AIC's hand and said, "This is a rare opportunity. Do you want to try sparring?" Hearing this, AIC's eyes lit up. She nodded without hesitation. In the hall on the first floor, Riveria and Rafia slowly walked down the stairs. The two elves were holding thick books in their hands while discussing the problems of magic. Of course, rather than saying that they were discussing, it was more like Riveria was teaching Rafia. As Riveria's future successor, Rafia was like Riveria's disciple. She had always been receiving guidance from Riveria. The two discussed the problems of magic while heading to the courtyard. However, before they arrived at the courtyard outside, Riveria and Leafia noticed a commotion. At the periphery of the courtyard, a group of people were gathered in a circle. They were pointing at the front and discussing animatedly. Huh? Leafia blinked her eyes, somewhat at a loss. What's the matter? Riveria also frowned, stepped forward, and spoke directly. What are you doing? Why are you all gathered in this place? Riveria's voice made everyone turn their heads. Only then did Riveria realize that Tiona and Tiona were also in the crowd. Riveria, Rafia, Tiona greeted with some excitement. You're here too. Could it be that you also noticed the commotion and came over? Tiona said. You came at the right time. It's just about the exciting part. Exciting part? Riveria frowned. Exciting part? Rafia was also puzzled. What happened? Tiona and Tiona didn't answer. Instead, they moved aside. In the next moment, Riveria and Rafia saw the scene. It was an exciting battle. Chapter 2025. Clang dash. The crisp sound of steel clashing rang. That was the sound of swords colliding with each other. In the courtyard that covered a small area, in the space, two figures were holding sword-type weapons in each other's hands. They were dancing and slashing at each other. Clang dash. A melodious sword hum resounded in the air. Clang dash. The swords clashed with each other again, and the collision in the sword marks that had not been completely eliminated caused a sound. The swords were intertwined. Sparks were flying. In the small courtyard, a wonderful battle was going on. Everyone looked at the most direct collision between the swords, and they all fell into amazement. It was a combination of a man and a woman who were fighting. As companions, the members of Loki's clan who were present naturally knew the two people. Not to mention, the two people were famous in various aspects. One was the female swordsman who had been the target of everyone in the clan for many years. The other was a newcomer who had just joined yesterday, but had already reached LV 4. Noah and AIC, under the gaze of a group of Loki's clan members who had gathered unknowingly, carried out a wonderful attack and defense battle. The attacking party was AIC. AIC was holding the sword that she usually used for practice. With a serious expression that had never been seen before, she swung out a silver slash at a speed that no one could see clearly. The girl who was given the title of swordswoman by the gods was undoubtedly the best in the city where there were many families and adventurers. Almost everyone present had seen the scene of the girl cutting the monster's body into pieces in the underground city. Naturally, they understood how deadly the silver slash was. In the face of that terrible slash, even if it was the first-level adventurer who was also LV 6, if he was not careful, he could be beheaded. However, in the face of such a stunning slash, Noah, who focused on defense, accurately received it completely. Facing the fast slash of the sword, the man flicked it away like a gust of wind. The girl continued to attack without hesitation. The weapon in her hand stabbed out violently, intertwining with endless sword light, completely enveloping the man's body. However, the man's expression did not change as he raised the weapon in his hand. With lightning speed, he deflected the sword light one by one. In the end, he swung down like a whirlwind, forcing the girl to retreat. Clang, 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 clang. For a moment, the sound of sword and halberd kept ringing, accompanied by bursts of scattered sparks, reverberating in the space of the entire courtyard. At this moment, the man and woman both turned into the most gorgeous swordsmen, causing dazzling sword light and resplendent trajectories to constantly appear in this space. It was an extremely shocking sight. Therefore, as spectators, the members of Loki's clan were all intoxicated, and they were all talking. It's really amazing, yeah, I didn't expect that the newcomer Draeger to be able to keep up with Miss Ace's sword. Are the two of them sparring? That's great, I also want to practice with Miss AI. While the members of Loki's clan were talking, Riveria and Rafia looked at each other with indescribable expressions. Didn't this Noah Dole say that he wanted to hide his identity? Riveria muttered to herself as if she had a headache. Since he wants to hide his identity, then don't be so eye-catching. He's only LV 4, but he's already practicing with a LV 6 cadre. Isn't this telling everyone that he can challenge those above his level? That's right. Leafia said sourly. Mr. Noah is really too cunning. Undoubtedly, Miss AI has that kind of feeling for him, and he's still hanging out with Miss AI, compared to Riveria, who was having a headache, and Rafia, who was inexplicably jealous. Tiona and Tioni were watching with great interest. Looking at it this way, little brother and AI are actually quite compatible, aren't they? Even I want to matchmake the two of them. Just when everyone was talking, Noah and AI completed another attack and defense. Clang. After a loud collision that was louder than any of the previous collisions, AIC was once again pushed back by the heavy blow. She tapped the ground with the tip of her feet and leaped away nimbly. She landed not far away from Noah and began to gasp for breath. Compared to AI, Noah's face was not red and he was not panting at all. Obviously, he still had energy left. Seeing that AI began to gasp for breath, Noah also exhaled, lowered the sword in his hand, and said so. Let's stop here. Hearing this, AI showed a somewhat reluctant expression and seemed to want to continue. However, the two were only having a morning exercise after all, and it was not a real battle. There was no need to determine the winner. Therefore, although she wanted to continue, after hesitating for a while, AI still put away the sword in her hand. Clap, 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 clap. At this moment, the sound of applause sounded like a wave, and it reached Noah and AI's ears, attracting their attention. Gazing at the clan members gathered at the entrance of the mansion, AIC blinked her eyes as though she had just realized that she was being watched. Noah was a little helpless. Indeed, it's a little too eye-catching. Under such circumstances, Riveria began to speak among the crowd. All right, you've seen enough. Don't all gather here, go do your own things. Yes. The group of Loki clan members responded one after another, and they gradually dispersed while discussing in high spirits. Only then did Tioni, and Leafia came closer. Both of you have worked hard for the morning exercise. Tiona held 2 cups of water in her hands, bounced over in an extremely lively manner, and shared it with Noah and AI. Come, drink some water. Tiona. AIC subconsciously took the water from her. Why are you all here? Noah also took the water, but asked such a question. In response, Tioni just answered as if it was a matter of course. You all made such a big commotion, and the sound of weapons clashing could be heard from the top of the tower. Who would have noticed? We only noticed when we came down. Leafia, on the other hand, had a sullen look on her face. Then we found Miss AI and Mr. Noah sparring here. Not Noah, it's Drake. Noah corrected her expressionlessly. It's just morning exercise, don't make a fuss about it. For morning exercise, that level of attack and defense is a little too much. Riveria sighed. But for you all, if it's not that level, then it's not considered morning exercise, right? I'm just accompanying AI. Noah finished the water in the cup in his hand and returned it to Tiona. Then, he turned to Riveria and said, Don't worry. Now it's time for you to accompany AI to practice magic, right? Then I'll go back to my room first. No, I didn't come down just to find AI, but also to find all of you. Riveria looked at Noah, AI, Tiona, and Tioni, and said so. Go to Finn's place. Finn. Everyone was slightly stunned. The leader wants to discuss the next matters with us. Leafia explained. It's about the upcoming expedition. The central tower of Loki's clan base was surrounded by a total of 7 towers. The lower half of the towers were connected together, and although the upper half was separated, there was a corridor in the air connecting them. Only the central tower was independent. As the main god, Loki's room was located on the top floor of the central tower. As for the rest of the clan, almost all of them were distributed among the 7 towers. Among the 7 towers, 3 of them were allocated to the male members, while the other 4 were allocated to the female members, who were more numerous in number. Noah, Finn, Gareth, and Bert lived in the 3 towers, and their positions were quite scattered. There was no pattern at all, and it was very messy. Finn's room and office were located in the northern tower. Finn. Everyone came here together, and Riveria knocked on the door of Finn's office. I brought them here. Just as Riveria's voice fell, Finn's voice sounded. Come in. Hearing this, Riveria directly opened the door and led everyone into Finn's office. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.